everyone. Welcome back to Cosplay Photo Critique, episode 31. I don't know why that feels like such a big number to me right now, but it just kind of does.
Because it is.
Oh man, I'm dropping frames like crazy. I think I must be accidentally uploading right now. Hold on one second.
Wouldn't be a stream without technical problems.
What is causing me to drop so many frames? I am so sorry, everyone. Hold on. Let's figure out what is causing this problem. Oh my god, come on, task manager. You gonna show up for me? While I kill for time for a second here. Yeah, I don't know what's eating up the bandwidth unless oh, you know what it is? It's almost certainly my wife's computer going right now. So hold on one second while I turn that off.
Wow.
Close your 5,000 tabs.
That's real.
As I put her computer to sleep and we stopped dropping frames, yep, that was the problem. She has like a million tabs, so I'm not like that. But sorry about that, guys.
Well, that was definitely the problem then.
Yeah, that was a janky opening. I am sorry about that, everyone. Thanks for coming. And today we are joined by our special guest, Aara Lee. Aara, is so happy to have you on. We've had you on for a CosTalk Questions episode, but it's awesome to have you on for a critique.
It's fun to be here.
Yeah, let's jump right into it. So, Aara, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, like how long you've been cosplaying or anything along those lines?
Okay. Hey guys, my name is Aara. I've been cosplaying since 2009. So this is my 10th year anniversary.
Oh man.
I know. Little bit about myself. I love cats, mostly my cat Lucy. I also love Dungeons and Dragons and writing and reading as my other hobbies other than cosplay.
Awesome. 10 years. How do you feel cosplay's changed over that time period? Do you think it's changed for the better, the worse, or is it pretty much just, there's positive and negatives in both?
I don't think cosplay as a hobby has changed as much as I have changed as a cosplay hobbyist. I just think that my perspective has shifted regarding, life. I've matured. I started cosplaying when I was a tiny baby. So I don't know. I think that the time I'm able to invest obviously is a lot less than when I was just like a little middle school, high school kid. So, and I was interested in different anime and different types of cosplay when I was in high school and middle school. I liked crossplay a lot. I liked cosplaying boys. That's how I met Sarah. I was cosplaying Simone from Gurren Lagann.
Hell yeah.
And Sarah was Nia. So I don't know. It's still fun.
The first time I met you is when you were Roxas.
Okay, yes. That's technically the first time. Sarah took the first photo I've ever received of my cosplay on like her cell phone in 2009.
Wait, shut up. I didn't know it was your first photo.
That's beautiful.
It was so cute.
Yo, I was a great photographer.
No, I don't know. The way I engage in the hobby is the same. I just see it differently as an adult.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. It's kind of interesting because like the scene's changed a bunch, but also it's like really hard to really tell how much it's changed because we've also changed so dramatically.
Yeah.
Because like I look back.
That's exactly.
One of the biggest things is I try never to get irritated by the kids that I see at conventions because I'm like, that was me. I was that annoying teen. Like that,
I love kids at conventions.
It doesn't mean I don't get annoyed by it, but like I try to just be like, whatever, that was me. I know exactly how I was. Like
I was a little shit and I still am.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's why my answer was sort of confused. I'm not really sure.
No,
I've
totally
changed. The hobby's changed. I think the biggest thing for me is just recognizing social media use as a new part of cosplay.
Oh yeah.
So
as a kind of jumping deep into the questions here, I feel like this is maybe a question I should have had later, but it's the second one on my list, so we're going with it. So as a cosplayer, how do you go about preparing for a photo shoot? Are there any specific things you do, or?
Yeah, preparing for a photo shoot for me is typically a pretty involved process, but also a lot of fun. So I first start by researching. Well, okay, first I choose a character that I want to shoot. I start by researching photographers. So that used to be a pretty like simple, straightforward process. I would look at portfolios. I would choose a style that I. This is if it's shooting in the future too. I choose a style that would fit the character. So for characters like Midna from Twilight Princess, Not the Brave from Critical Role, those fantasy-esque characters, I would choose a photographer that was thoughtful of landscapes, environments that might complement that costume, and just having that entire atmospheric experience with the photo. And for anime girls, it's a little bit different. I might focus on a photographer that pays close attention to cosmetic retouching. I think that if I'm an anime girl that has a very flawless, cute appearance, I would want a photographer that can pay attention to those details, removing unwanted shadows and blemishes and things. But in addition, photography research now includes talking to my friends about what they're like as a person, what their reputation is. And that's something I've added to that process recently.
Yes, and as it should be for everyone.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Kind of almost on the same thing is what's one thing that photographers do during a shoot that drives you nuts? Not like all photographers, but if there's like a pet peeve that you have, or just something that you've noticed lots of photographers do that you're like, I wish they wouldn't.
I think that right off the bat, not working with a photographer I've booked, but perhaps a photographer I run into at a convention is perhaps not introducing themselves professionally, or even just at a standard social level, like, "Hi, my name is so and so," or "My handle is blah blah blah. Nice to meet you. What's your name? Can I take a photo of you?" Just skipping that step and immediately going for the shot or something makes me a little
so
uncomfortable.
creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I think that one extra layer is it's important to be aware of who the cosplayer is with. I think that typically a lot of cosplayers have with them either a best friend or a significant other or a handler even. And so I am often with my boyfriend, and if a photographer ignores his presence and never once um, addresses him, and they ask me to like go walk away into a different area for a shoot, but they don't acknowledge him, that makes me a little uncomfortable too.
Absolutely.
Ew.
I think that's just like even not on a creepy aspect, which that is, it kind of makes you feel uncomfortable and like less
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be
human.
creepy. I just think it's
Yeah,
if it's a pet peeve of mine, I think it's more
yeah.
polite to
No,
acknowledge
it's polite, but
people
also
as
like
people
when you
before
do
they
it,
are models.
it's also usually more fun. Like when you can involve that
Yeah.
second person and talk with them, they're not going to be bored. They're not going to be irritated that they came along to help.
Yeah.
You're going to have more fun. The cosplayer is going to have more fun. Like just all around, it's so much better if you can just like even minorly involve them or talk to them and acknowledge them. So that, yeah, totally.
Be friends and relationships before working, treating a cosplayer like a model for clout
Yeah.
or something. I think it's more fun to just make friends. So
who are some cosplayers or artists in general that inspire you?
oh boy. So I chose I chose photographers. I mean, obviously you and Sarah. And as far as some photographers, right off the top of my head, I'm very inspired by Mallow and Sono Photos. I recently just booked for
Gross.
I recently just booked for Kineticon Amy E. So I'm really excited to work with her. And artists, Firefly Path, she's a seamstress that designs fantasy inspired gowns.
Did she do like
And
the fairy gown
yeah,
look? Okay, I was
and
like, she sounds
accessories.
familiar. Yeah.
Elven and fairy looks beautiful. Like,
Yeah,
so that
they're really
inspires my
awesome.
craft. And another photographer that's unrelated to cosplay is Simply Savannah Art, and she does fantasy photography that I think is just so beautiful. Like every time I see a photo, I'm like, oh my god, that's really stunning.
Shut up.
Yeah, Simply Savannah Art, really beautiful. Not cosplay photography, but art.
Yeah,
Just do.
I think one of the biggest thing cosplay
Oh my
photographers can do
God.
is
Cool, right?
look outside of cosplay photography for inspiration, because there's so many amazing photographers outside of cosplay photography that we can pull ideas from.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my god, their stuff is so pretty. Follow.
I
I'll have
have
to look
an
it up
answer
after.
to the previous question.
Yeah.
I just followed up about preparation.
Yeah,
I forgot to mention like a couple other steps.
go for it.
And it just popped into my head. Choosing reference photos to share or like inspirational mood photos is really fun when you're collaborating with a photographer.
Bless her
Um,
goddamn soul.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite parts is not creating mood boards or anything too excessive, but just sending them like, okay, this screenshot from Avatar or whatever is like my favorite scene. Or this other cosplay photo has a couple elements I really love.
It always
Also eating, drinking before a shoot, peeing.
Yeah.
basics.
That's not important.
Kind of on that same thought though, it drives me nuts when I ask people to give me like at least some thoughts or guidelines for photos, or like for reference shots and stuff for things that they want to do during a shoot, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't have anything," and I'm like, "Okay, that's fine."
You're like, wow, I'm panicking.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
like it's
this-
usually
this is
before
your
it's
homework.
before the shoot, so it's like usually like a week or two before the convention, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna come up with stuff. But the thing that drives me the most nuts, and I've had this happen a couple times, where I've seen them share photos afterward, or not photos, but like images of their characters afterwards that would have been like great ideas for photos,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, why didn't you? Okay, sure, whatever. It's fine. It's pretty similar to a previous question, but I think slightly different enough that we can address it. Is what's one thing you think photographers could improve on while working with cosplayers?
Having a clear contract. I think that should be more universal. It alleviates for me a lot of anxiety or uncertainty. I like contracts. I like the professionalism, and I think that it helps all parties involved.
Awesome.
Agreed.
What's your favorite cosplay that you have worn or made?
Okay, so
You can answer
it's always
more
the
than one.
newest one I've done. it's never
fine.
like previous costumes.
Yep.
Right now my favorite cosplay is Toph from Avatar.
Yeah, she's the
But
best.
right up there is Not the Brave from Critical Role, which I just wore those this past weekend. And Imp Midna will be a forever fave.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's a cosplay that you've always wanted to do but haven't yet for whatever reason?
Anything from Breath of the Wild. Yeah. I just haven't cosplayed from Breath of the Wild or Ocarina of
Ooh,
Time yet, and
who
those
do
are
you
both
wanna
goals.
be?
Who do I want to be? So from Breath of the Wild, my initial go-to was Link's barbarian outfit.
Oh my god, please!
Yes.
Please, such a good look.
I
I'm
love
like-
it. I've seen so many people do it so well, and I still like.
It just looks like
I'm
it's
obsessed.
so much fun to make too.
Yeah, exactly. It
Please,
looks like
please,
it's fun to
please.
make. And I like the tummy body paint.
It's good. It's
Um,
a good look.
It looks hot on him, but I'm just
yeah,
gonna.
well, he is, but whatever.
Yeah, and Pura.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you'd be a cute Pura. Yeah.
Oh my god, I definitely, I
kinda
totally,
like-
totally, yeah.
Okay, I was like, I
I
didn't
could see
want to assume, but
Yeah.
okay, good.
She was my when I met her in the lab. Well, when
Yeah.
any of my friends met her, they all like messaged our group chat and they were like, this is you, 5 years old but 100? Crazy.
I mean, it was real. I was like,
Yeah. So
Awesome. What's one piece of advice that you would give to cosplayers?
One piece of advice for cosplayers. I guess I don't know.
It could be
Communicate effectively, I guess. Um, that's my best piece of advice. Like, don't be afraid to speak with a photographer about any concerns or you have, or even praise. I think that cosplayers could perhaps be a little bit more generous in interacting and engaging with cosplayers or photographers' posts and showing them a lot of gratitude. Sometimes I think that photographers can put hours and hours and hours into a photo and then the cosplayer uploads it and they add like a 2-word caption and tag them and it's just like, I'm glad you liked it. Like, but it's I don't know. Like, but I think gratitude and just being able to articulate that gratitude can go a long way for photographers' self-esteem.
Totally,
You're not
100%
wrong.
agree. I'd also want to double down on just communication in general. I feel like that's been a pretty clear theme over the course of these, over the course of this entire podcast. If this is a podcast, I don't know. Whatever this
Whatever.
is, live stream. That communication is so key, and like so many problems could just be resolved with like basic communication. So yeah, 100% agreed. And then what's one piece of advice you would give to photographers?
Make a coffee or Ko-fi, something, some form of online payment or something for tipping, especially. I don't, if you're not doing a booking or something. I don't personally carry cash on me, but I always want to be able to compensate photographers in some way, whether it's, I don't know, buying them a coffee, a real one in real life, or something like that. So, some kind of easy payment method for cosplayers.
Awesome.
Yeah. And also, don't be afraid to repost your work everywhere across all social media platforms. You're not spamming. I barely see anybody's posts anymore with like the way algorithms work.
What this is an interesting thought, and it's something I've been doing a little bit of, and just kind of while it's on the top of my mind, get your guys' opinions on here. Is how do you feel about reposting work that has been posted already? So let's say you did a cosplay photo set that you posted 6 months or a year ago. How do you feel about it being reposted again? Do you think that's like it's already up there, people can find it, or do you think that resharing it is good?
I think that's fine because someone that I follow recently, it was like last week, kitty, they're like, oh, reposting old set from like X amount of months ago, and I was like, oh, I never even saw this. So, and I'm also not gonna take the time to go to someone's profile and like scroll a lot to find. I don't know. Also, I just think that's kind of creepy and weird. I don't know. I don't mind it because I definitely don't see a lot of things. So
Accidentally likes a post from like a year ago.
I've done that before, and you're like, oh my god, I'm an embarrassment.
I think it probably was less important a couple years ago, maybe like 3 years ago, where you were more likely to see everyone's posts. But I'd say probably now more than ever, like so few people see your posts. I know
Yeah.
I recently had a set that I put out that I was pretty proud of, and like I feel like no one saw it, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'll repost that a little bit.
I think the other problem stems from, and this is me coming from like my UI UX background and doing like user testing and research, is that the other problem is now we're just kind of like, you get in a trance basically when you're scrolling. So you could see it, but because you've scrolled through so much already, it's true though. It's like they've done studies on it, like heat map testing and stuff. And basically it's like you're seeing it, but like your brain hasn't really registered that you are seeing it, so you don't interact with it. So I think that's another problem.
Yes, totally agreed.
Yeah, repost old stuff because especially if it's topical. Like I remember Breath of the Wild announced its sequel, and everybody was getting out their old Breath of the Wild photos.
Yeah, I loved it.
Great. My feed was beautiful again.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. If you can, if something happens where you're like, yes, I can repost these old photos and they'll get way more attention. Hell yeah,
Yeah.
that always works wonderfully. um, so okay, time to do the normal spiel before we get into the critique itself. So, as always, we're always looking for new guests to have on the show. So if you have any suggestions of people that you'd like to see on the show, we want to hear those. Keep in mind that, you know, there's a big limitations as to who we can have on. Like, there's a bunch of photographers that we've tried to ask, and just they either don't want to or lack the ability to. And trying to coordinate with cosplay or cosplay photographers outside of the U.S. is very difficult. Not only for time differences, but also for language barriers. I want to try and get some more guests outside of the U.S. on, but we'll see how that goes. That's a big question mark up in the air. Point being is we want to know. I'm trying to get the link in chat. Hold on one second here. My button just was not working for whatever reason today. So there we go. Got the link in chat for those of you who would like to leave a suggestion. Of course, now it posted twice in a row. Whatever. So as we critique, please critique along with us. We love your feedback. We love having that additional insight into photos as we go. So please just give your thoughts and opinions along with us. We'll try and look over whenever we can and add your thoughts into the critique. So just be active. It makes the critique a lot more fun for everyone. And yeah. I'll be posting the links to the photos on Flickr as we go through. So I'll paste the entire album here right now. That way you can see the photos in full resolution as opposed to just looking at what they are on screen, because that can be pretty difficult to discern details and you get compression and just all that jazz. So that way you just have that extra detail of the original photos. But I'll try and remember to post every single individual photo as we go through the critique. As always, I'm going to give my donation and sub speech here. So, donations and subs are never expected here, but they are greatly appreciated. So, if you have the means, donations and subs help us continue this stream and everything else that we're doing live here, and we greatly appreciate it. And as always, if you have Amazon Prime, that means you have Twitch Prime, which means you have one free sub per month to give to whatever streamer that you want, and it's totally free. Like, if you have Amazon Prime, you have this. And as a note, it doesn't auto renew, so you have to use it every month, which is annoying because people are like, why am I not subbed to you anymore? And I'm like, yeah, you need to resub. And someone for the
I
love
need to resub. I'm so sorry.
For the love of God, someone needs to donate, because right now we're at $69.69. Someone needs to fix that.
Who did that? What troll?
Bobo knows what he did. Bobo knows what he did.
Yep.
Lou, thank you so much for that $5 donation. You fixed everything. Thank God. Well, not everything. It's still 69 cents.
Riley!
Dream Life style photog, if your photo isn't in here, it will be in the next stream. So we had a ton of people submit to the last critique, so there's a bunch of overflow from last critique into this critique. I never want to toss out people's photos. I always want to critique them. So all of the photos from that didn't make it into this critique will be on the next one. I do not know exactly what day that'll be, but it'll probably be in a couple weeks. So keep an eye out for that next stream. We don't have the details down for that, but yes, your photo will be in the next critique if you don't see it in that Flickr link that I shared. And And thank you, Lou, again for that awesome donation. And finally, just to wrap it up, I feel like I got off wind there. So yeah, if you have Amazon Prime, just for the love of God, get Twitch Prime and give it sub. If it's not here, at least give it somewhere, because otherwise that money is just going to waste. Please, 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 just use it. Use it.
I subbed with my dad's Prime account.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. And honestly,
He was like, "What's Twitch?" I'm like, "All right,
Don't
it's
worry
fine.
about
Just-
it.
honestly,
Fine.
don't even use it on me. Games Done Quick is coming up this weekend, and that money goes to a way better place. So if you don't feel like using a sub for me, go sub to Games Done Quick. That money all goes to charity, and that's event is happening starts up this Sunday. So like, yeah, sub to Games Done Quick too. Okay, final thing before we get into the critique. Just want to let everyone know that our opinions are just opinions. They're not facts. They're not law. It is totally fine if you disagree with how you feel about a photo. It's totally fine if you're like, I like this aspect. We're not here to fight anyone about how they feel about a photo. We're not here to tell you you're wrong about how you feel about a photo. We're just trying to give the best insight we can, and hopefully you can take it to heart and use it to improve your work. But the goal here is never to offend or tell people that they've done something wrong, and it's totally okay to have differing opinions from us.
It's all subjective at the end of the day. It's art.
And I think with that out of the way, let's jump into this critique. So this first photo is from Alex. Sarah, do you want to start us off here?
Mm-hmm. So right away, I was really drawn to the color grading of this photo. I'm a really big sucker, and I'm sure some of you guys have probably noticed this in my most recent photos, but I'm a sucker for like blue and red, or like cyan and red combo. I think those two colors go really well together. So I really like the pop of red from the cosplayer's wig, and then like the blue from the background. I think it's a pool. I just think it's really, I like how moody and like dark it feels, but without feeling like grungy, I guess. I think the color choices here are really nice. The skin retouching is also pretty good too. I appreciate that they took the time to do that. One of my initial critiques though for it is I feel like I can't tell if it's like that faded look. I never know what to call it. People call it like the photo film look. I call it like the faded look, where it kind of like, at least how I do it, is like you overlay a color and you set it to like lighten at like 10-20% or whatever. But it makes you lose some of the details, especially in darks, like in your shadows and in your blacks. So I kind of wish some of the detailing in the dress wasn't lost. I mean, you can still see it, but I think it is falling a little flat. So it's like that part of the photo is just kind of like a black blob to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely wish there was a bit more contrast there.
Mhm.
Also,
I do want to talk about kind of like, and this is a subjective thought, but I'm going to say it anyway, is the faded look is cool. I'm not going to deny that. And it is a very trendy thing, especially like when Visco app came out like a few years ago, like, because it was something that really brought it to the forefront to people who don't know like that old photo-y look. There's a time and place for it, and sometimes, and I'm not saying this photo is a bad example, but I see it a lot. I see it done excessively, but it doesn't necessarily like add anything. So it's kind of like, just make sure that when you're making these decisions that they're intentional and there's a reason behind them, not like being like, oh, I saw Sarah use a faded look on her most recent photo, I'm gonna do that too.
yeah,
I don't know. It's just a trend I've noticed in photos that like it can look really good when it's executed well, but when it's overdone and only done for the sake of it being done, it just doesn't look great.
yeah, I think
I'm done.
I do think it works in this realm. I just think it's maybe a bit too strong. Yeah, like just tone it down
I like
a little
it for
bit.
this photo. Like it adds that moody
Mhm.
I can't, I don't know what words are.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. It kind of like, I think it works well with this idea. I feel like uh the skin saturation was taken down a lot, which kind of works for Bowsette. Like, you know, kind of makes it feel a bit more reptilian, I guess.
Mhm.
Um
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So, and I think it works pretty well here. Um and kind of goes along with that, just the general desaturating of the photo and then having like the strong reds in the hair, I think looks really cool. Um I know, Sarah, you brought up that you liked the kind of red blues. I think part of the thing that I dislike about this photo is how strong the blues are in like that pool in the background. I
Hmm.
kind of wish they were desaturated a little bit more so the red could pop out even more. I don't think
Yeah,
the
I do
color
think the
tone's
shadows
bad.
of the pool are a little too much. Like now
Yeah.
that I'm looking at it more.
Yeah, I think they just, the saturation on it just jumps a little bit too much out at me.
What if
Oh,
they made the blue water match her eyeshadow or something?
that could work.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Anyway, no, I love this photo. I think that it's very flattering. I think that the cosplayer is really like feeling herself. This pose is so dynamic and her hands are so fierce. Um, I don't know, there's just some nice attention to detail with the skin retouch. I think that if I were a cosplayer getting this back, I'd be really happy.
So the retouch is something I actually want to delve into here. Um,
Hmm.
the skin like is pretty much devoid of texture.
Mhm.
Yep.
Um,
I was say
to,
it looks like it's
to
been through beauty cam.
yeah.
Milky.
So this is actually, and to plug myself a little bit, this is kind of what I specifically use frequency separation for, because I feel like the skin texture was retouched and or like completely lost, but you actually didn't retouch what I think needs to be retouched the most, which is the kind of the color variability and kind of the shadow and highlight levels. So like you still see like kind of the overall larger variability in the skin with the shadows and like some of the areas that aren't smooth. But you've just killed the texture, which the texture probably wasn't nearly as much the problem. Um,
Hmm.
so I'd
Mhm.
be very careful about that. Also, there's some very specific things that I want to talk about where you kept the texture but did some less than than great things. I'll zoom in so chat can know exactly what I'm talking about. So if we look at right above the eye, you can see all this repeating
Yep.
texture. Um, it's really not that hard to get rid of that repeating texture. So like, we'll grab a red so that we can easily see here. So right above the eye here, you see all that repeating texture. You get the repeating texture here. As well as I think that this like kind of corner of the mouth here, like that was repeated here and here. Like you see it 3 times. You see it once, twice, a third time. Um, just be careful when you're clone stamping or healing brush tools so that you're not repeating things that shouldn't be repeated, or at least you're moving your brush over so like you're sampling from a slightly different area just so you don't have that strong repeated texture, because it will be noticeable.
Yeah, usually like before I did frequency separation, to get a texture so I don't have that weird repeating pattern, because that is it's easy. It's hard to do if you don't realize it, but once you realize it, you're like, how the hell do I fix this? Is I would usually sample from nowhere near where I was touching up.
Yes.
Um, that's a good way to like avoid it.
Hmm.
So like even though like I'm like touching up like on the right side of her face, I would sample over from like the left side of her face.
Yeah.
Granted, if like the lighting made sense, because if it didn't, then obviously that would look like crap. Um,
And,
yeah, but that's a good way to do it.
and frequency separation will make that way easier, because then you can sample from pretty much anywhere without having to worry about how it affects the color. So definitely
Y'all,
check
just
out
do
that.
frequency
Yeah,
separation.
it's
Will
a
save
game
your
changer.
goddamn life.
I think the frequency separation would also most benefit like her chest area.
Yes.
I think that for me is the most somewhat distorted by the retouch. Like there's some highlights on the right chest area that is just like a little off-putting. Like that's not where the light might hit there. Like
Yeah,
it's
I
right
don't
in
know
the
what's
middle.
going on there either. It's yeah, it looks a little funky.
Right, yeah.
It looks like they were trying to
Screen
like
share.
not to like concentrate on her chest, but it looks like they were trying to smooth it out, and it just went a little too far.
Stop screen sharing. There we go. My button wasn't working for a second there. Yeah. I also haven't talked about it, but I did mention chat spam those Dutch angle emotes if you have them. That's why you should sub, so you get those sweet Dutch angle emotes. It doesn't actually particularly bother me. Like, it's one of those things where I'm pretty indifferent about it in this photo. I don't think it really
It
strengthens.
doesn't make me want to fall over.
Yeah, it doesn't strengthen the photo, but it doesn't hurt the photo, so I'm just kind of like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I think the dramatic like hands kind of help balance it out. So apparently Dutch just in chat, I think this is hilarious. Dreams Lifestyle Photog said Dutch angle whore, which apparently that was not okay. That combination of words just was not okay.
Yeah, I was like, why did that get flagged?
That's amazing.
So
That's amazing.
Oh, I do think, Riley, I do think of DeviantArt when I see that. I'm not the only one.
No, you're not the only one.
Yeah, that's a problem. Well, how else do you fully communicate it? I'm sorry for us old weebs that think of DA as DeviantArt. Sorry.
It's okay. It's you have like an age cutoff where no one else will think that. So
people are like, what's DeviantArt?
What's DeviantArt?
No. Okay, let's move on to the next shot then. This next one is from Anthony or Flashcord Photography. Aara, do you want to start us off on this one?
Awesome, yeah. So just initial first impressions are that I really love the cool tones of this photo that give it that kind of serious video gamey vibe. Again, moody, like Sarah said, just unique to look at. I think that playing with color right off the bat will set your photos apart from ones that haven't been experimented with. I also think that as a cosplayer, I love that this is kind of a full body shot that like shows off her head to toe. I think that it would be satisfying to receive back a photo like this, especially when there's so much portrait photography that cuts off pieces of your costumes. So those are my initial first impressions. I think that just getting a little bit deeper here. And again, I don't speak technically as a photographer. I speak from a cosplayer background.
That's okay.
That's the perspective that we want, though.
Yeah, so I think it's depth of field, but I love that the background is so blurred in contrast to how crisp she looks. One thing that I would notice is that there are wispies from the wig on her like elegant shoulder here and on the right side too. If it's I know wigs are pain in the ass to clean up, but
wigs.
Sometimes I think because the background's so like pretty and blurry and she's so crisp, I would want to maybe edit that out. Other than that, this is cool. The neutral expression isn't really doing anything for me. I know that Jinx is kind of like Toga and that she's really kind of crazy and smirky even, like grinning. So I might want more of that direction, but if that's not the direction you went for, it's totally fine.
I was like, I actually kind of like how it's the opposite of what you'd expect of Jinx, because I feel like a lot of photos I see of Jinx, she's just crazy, like you said. But I kind of like how this one she's like cool and composed, and she's like, so kind of like what you said for the previous photo. Like this, I feel like this cosplayer is also really feeling herself, but in a very kind of like more like punky kind of way. Like her body language just really, I don't know, you can just tell that she was comfortable with like the cosplay. Like she likes being this character. She liked who she was working with. Like I don't know, just it's very rare that you see someone look so relaxed, but like in a good way. Like
I have thoughts on this.
what?
So actually, I think one of the areas that I think this photo could be improved the most is the I just like feel like her shoulders are slumped forward so much, and it's driving me nuts. I want her shoulders rolled back.
Back a little bit.
Yeah, like I feel like just kind of like her
'Cause I
lower
think
half
her
of her
left,
body
her
is
left
really
shoulder
great.
is like a little too slouchy, not slouched.
They both of her shoulders feel
Right
pretty
word.
far forward to me, and like if you could roll them back, that would fix the posture in the back a little bit more. It just that simple rolling of the shoulders back, I think, would help this shot so much.
I think that some models, and this is obviously subjective, just talking with them, some models may want the retouch to be taken just a tiny bit farther on the face. I've seen cosplayers even retouch themselves. Like you'll see a tagged photo similar to this, and then you'll see the cosplayer's post, and the cosplayer's post will have some shadows. I know particularly around the nose, lightened, and around the mouth right here, and then oftentimes under eyes are just taken a tiny bit farther sometimes.
Is the skin tone uneven, or is it just me?
I think her face is a bit more saturated than her arms and her chest.
Well,
From
I'm
foundation?
not like particularly like her, like this part. It looks a little darker than the rest of her face. Also, might, and it's like I don't know. It looks Oh, I don't want to say patchy, but I just did. It looks a little patchy, so I kind of wish just like to touch up on Ara's like retouching comment is to just like even that out a bit.
Yeah.
In post, because I think that's why it feels a little like off balance from the rest of her body.
I don't think it's too bad, but I get what you're saying, though. I think it could be smoothed out a little bit. Something that I want to bring up that chat mentioned a couple times and were conflicted about how they felt is the yellow circle in the upper right-hand corner. So, what do you guys think?
I didn't notice it, to be quite honest, until someone brought it up in chat.
I didn't notice it until someone brought it up in chat as well.
I didn't notice it.
So
I don't know why.
I actually don't think it bothers me, but I do wish it were a different color. I think the fact that it's this yellow that's repeated like nowhere else in the shot bothers me, but I think
except for on her cheek.
God damn it. Yeah. No, I think if you change it to a different color, that would help a lot.
Yeah, I feel kind of dumb now that I didn't notice it until someone just said it in chat, but I just
my eyes do go to it now that I'm looking at it. Like,
I know, now that you pointed it out, now that we're talking about it, I'm like, well, now I kind of wish like whatever. But like first glance, I was like, whatever.
Rest in peace, yellow orb.
Good
We're
vibe.
gonna destroy you.
Bye, bitch.
Bye, bitch.
Honestly, if it were me, I would just color change it. Like I don't even think you need to retouch it out.
No. It just needs to be like within the same hues as the rest of the photo.
Yeah.
Oh, the photographer didn't notice it either. See, like whatever. It's not like it's obstructing the cosplayer.
You have not done a cardinal sin. You're fine. Cool. Any final thoughts on this one before we move to the next shot?
Jack Garufu hates the Kalahari logo. Duly noted, because so do I.
Me too.
What? What am I missing?
The yellow orb gives him like PTSD about the Kalahari logo.
Okay. I was like, where are we going with this? I don't even know.
A mood.
I mean, that is definitely a feeling there, but I didn't even think about that. Okay. It's a good place to end this shot then. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, this next one is from Emily. or Jogson. Yeah, I probably pronounced that 100% correctly. Let me grab that Flickr link for everyone, and then I will jump into this one. So I really like the basis of this photo, and I think a few small tweaks and camera angle, this could be a really great shot. There's one thing that's driving me nuts about it, and we'll get to that in a second. But I really love the lines in this shot. I think there's a lot of strong things going on here. There's just so many cool lines, and there's a really nice color uniformity. So you've got kind of these blues and teals on the cosplayer, and then also in like the floor. And then you've got the golds in the background along the railings and kind of in the ceiling area. And then that kind of plays off of the blonde hair color. And I just think the color scheme of this photo works really well. I do wish that the color grading was maybe played with a little bit more, but I do think there's a really, really awesome base for the colors in this photo, and just tweaking it a little bit could make this photo look really awesome. What's driving me nuts about this photo is that I wish it were just angled slightly different, because we got this dude chilling up here at the top of the stairs, and it's driving me nuts because this photo is like really close to being good, but we got this guy just chilling up here, and I'm like, guy, why you gotta be there? Come on, dude.
Get out
of the
bro.
Photo. Didn't you know you were in the photo? Please leave.
Yeah, I was like, dude, get
out of here, dude. And I honestly think you could have fixed that. It doesn't look like there's really that many people. If you'd angled it slightly more, like you moved to the right so that the angle is a bit more to the left.
Which is astounding considering this is either taken at Anime Boston or PAX East, which are both horrifically packed. So the fact that they were able to get this staircase this empty, I can't believe that.
Yeah, I kind of wish they were situated a bit more in front of the railing too, so that the line of the railing that's coming up the stairs would lead more directly into the cosplayer. I think that could work really nicely, but I don't have a huge problems with how it is right now. I just think it could be slightly better.
I have a nitpicky thing.
Go for it. I have other thoughts, but feel free.
This is more kind of like a styling thing, like while you're shooting, because this cosplayer's, her pleats are so crisp and like so perfect, but there's that one pleat that's like got a little flipped around when she was probably like walking or something. So I wish you'd just taken the time to ask her to like adjust it, or like ask her if you can adjust it. Because it's all being stupid, as pleats are stupid. So, but I wish that had been flipped over. It really bothers me. Yeah. So just like, when you're shooting, be cognizant of like the person's costume, even if you don't know the character. Like if something looks a little off, just like bring it up.
Apparently, White Spec says they're constantly trying to kick people out of the staircase area. So
I can imagine why that
could have been a
annoying
short period of time too to work in this. So props on that, and getting in and getting out, if that was the case. Go ahead, Aara.
For posing, I think that I would have asked her to turn at a 3/4 angle. I think that that's very flattering, especially with this sort of costume. With these like straight seams down the side there, and I can see that her shoulder armor pauldrons would be particularly interesting to see from a slight angle. Things like that, especially her face. I know from faces are flattering from the side when you're looking down at a camera.
Yeah, I'd agree. The pose was definitely the next area I was going to jump into. I think that turn would help a lot, but if you do decide to keep the cosplayer straight onto the camera, there's a couple things that I would do. One, rarely does having the cosplayer is like when the cosplayer's body is facing directly towards you and their face is directly facing towards you, that's rarely a great combo. Usually want to have their head maybe turned a little bit more, maybe looking off in a different direction to make that work. In terms of the legs, I kind of wish one were crossed over the other. I think that could make a little bit more of a dynamic look. Because you kind of got this lean with like the one legs, kind of leaning towards that railing, like the weight's going towards that. I kind of wish it was stepping forward. And then the last thing here is her hand on the railing. It's like grabbing towards the underside of the railing, which feels a bit unnatural to me. I would like it kind of resting more on top of the railing and maybe kind of getting a little bit nicer bend in her arm, and kind of with how her hand would be situated, it would look nicer as well. But I'd also say that Aara's original suggestion of having them turn so their torsos kind of pointed towards the right of the frame would also work really well, and you could also keep them leaning on that railing. Probably really hard to figure out posing in these tight situations. My best suggestion for this is when you are doing posing, whether it's in an area that you know that you're most likely going to get kicked out of real fast, or if it's just like something that needs to go really fast when you're in that specific spot, my best suggestion is to spend as much time getting the pose down and kind of figuring out where you're going to frame before you set up the cosplayer in that specific spot, so that way they know exactly what they're doing, you know exactly what you're doing, and then you only need to do small tweaks from there. You're not having to worry about anything else other than that. You can just go. That helps a lot. It's kind of funny for cosplay photography. I feel like the biggest area that I have to do this in is like when you're shooting cosplay in winter and you're going to be shooting outside, and you're just like, okay, we're going to figure out this pose and this angle before we step outside, so this way I'm not posing you in the cold. But it would also very much work in a area that would be crazy like this, that they're kicking cosplayers out of. That way you can like get in, take that photo, and leave. Any other thoughts from you guys on this one? I'll take your silence as a no. Okay, let's move on to the next shot. This next one is from Cardboard Accessories. Sarah, do you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah. It's KDA time. Oh no. I noticed a nitpick right away. I'm sorry. Anyway. So I feel
Come on, Sarah, you can do it. I believe in you.
I know, I just feel kind of bad. It's just there are a lot of things about this photo I think that like it's almost there, but because of certain things, it's like outweighing the possibility of it being like a good photo for me. Like again, this is all subjective, and I'm really trying like not to be an asshole. I don't, because my first thought was like, why is she so close to this like wall and like the railing? Like it just seemed kind of like an odd choice, but then I realized I think the cosplayer is standing on a bench.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice
which
that.
I'm also not quite understanding. This was taken at Fanime, and the only reason I know that is because her lanyard is on her waist.
Oh yeah. Get that sweet,
so I'm kind of confused
lanyard
by that, because there are quite a few areas at Fanime that suit KDA really well. So I'm kind of confused by the location choice and also the position of the model. Only because she feels really cramped. Like even her body language to me feels a little uncomfortable. So I think that's a little odd. I also don't really understand like why the mic is on the ground either. Not on the ground, but it's like on the bench by her feet.
Yeah.
I think the flash could have been cool, but I think what part of it doesn't work for me is that also it's so close to her, so it's getting like super blown out like under the hat.
Yep.
But it's also in the same line is like that light from the building. So it kind of plays a trick with your mind that you think that the light is actually coming from that, but it's not, because the light is Wait, is it a flat? Is it a gel? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just that color because of her wig.
No, it's a gel. You look on the wall. It's got that purple
Oh
there.
shit, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really understand. I don't use lights at all because I don't understand. Like it's too much for me. But I don't understand the use of it in this case. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like
I think it could work. It's just so close to the cosplayer. It's just not really doing what
yeah.
you want it to do.
Well, it's doing like a very like, for lack of a better term, like a spotlight. Like it's like very
Yeah.
concentrated on like this one part, and she's like so close to this wall, which like I said, I don't understand that at all. And this was taken at night, so it's not like there's no crowds really at Fanime at night. Like it's so empty, so it's like it's not like you're dealing with like the whole like space issue either. Yeah, like it has the potential to be good. It's
so
just some of these, it's the positioning and the posing. Everything's kind of a
I feel
miss, so
ya.
it ends up just being kind of a miss for me. I'm sorry, I'm not trying.
So there's a
talking.
lot that I actually really like about this photo. The angled light that's coming down from the sides, like the one that's kind of that strip that's coming across the concrete and the strip that's like right above the cosplayer. I love how those angles play into this photo. I think that's really neat. I 100% agree with you about how close the cosplayer is to the wall. That feels like really kind of like weird to me. I wish this was shot like directly against the concrete instead of having like this above. Like I think you could do a lot of really cool things with the cosplayer sitting down here. I think the purple works really nicely along the concrete, but yeah, you're totally blowing those highlights and like making their entire face purple.
I mean, which could have been cool, but I think
I think it
because
would have
like
been
it's
cool
only
if
that
it would
part
have
of her body that
yeah.
is gelled, it's like not, because people do like the whole like color cast thing with gels. You see it in editorial all the time, and it can look super cool, especially for something like K-pop. But I think because it is just centralized like on her face.
Part of the big problem there too is because it's so blown out that the top of her hat is just white instead of purple. So yeah. Cool. I think you could also like just hopefully there's some in the raw file there's enough data that maybe you could pull that highlight in the hat down. That could help. I think playing around with color grading could help. Put some purples in the shadows. That upper right corner that's got that teal, take that to purple. Like the greens that are kind of reflected off the window in the back. Make those not green. Make them like a blue or a purple. There's things that you could do to make this photo pop a little bit more in post, I think. Retouch out the word Fanime-con on the badge strap, so that way it doesn't feel like a badge.
I honestly didn't.
It's
almost
pretty nitpicky,
could be like not obvious, but
honestly,
because I literally just got that lanyard, I was like, there it is.
Yeah, the other thing I would do is I would just retouch the mic out, because it just feels
there's no point to it being there.
Yeah, it almost feels like a distracting thing instead of like an intentional thing in the photo. Since it's so in the shadows and it's like so towards the bottom corner of the frame, yeah, I'd just take it out. Yeah, Riley, badges are the bane of my existence. That's the big, like, before I start a shoot.
And hair ties on the wrist. Oh my god, that's a mood.
Yeah.
I've been
YetiCon this past weekend, they didn't have badges. They actually had wristbands.
I hate that trend.
They were permanent ones that they expected you to wear all weekend.
They need to
I
stop
was
with
like,
it.
well, it's because it's more economical. Yeah, like they save a lot of money with wristbands. And
how much money could they be saving?
I was like, there's no way I'm wearing this all weekend and to bed.
I
having all my like everybody Photoshop it off of me. So I just put it like I was like, if I keep my bag on me, can you put the wristband on my purse handle? And she was like, sure. So she did.
Yeah.
But
Oh, nice.
yeah, but she refused to do it for my friend. Like it was, she asked an attendant next to her, and it was funny. The attendant next to my friend
Yeah.
was like, "No, we can't do that."
That's
As I had it like put on my bag next to her.
wristbands are so terrible because like I know for me, I hate wearing them. Not necessarily because I hate wearing them at the exact moment. It's like if you expect me to wear this for a weekend, like I'm not wearing this wristband in the shower. I am not wearing this wristband while I'm sleeping. Like this is coming off and I'm going to break it or tear it because it is going to annoy the shit out of me. You cannot have me keep this wristband on. It's just not going to be a thing. So that's like no. Apparently it was because
I saw
last
that.
year,
Yeah.
people would lose their lanyards
I
on the
accept
zip
wristbands
lines.
for YetiCon because, truth be told, at YetiCon you can use your wristbands to ride the mountain coaster, going like and all this stuff. And the mountain coaster was so fast, I thought I was going to die. And I'm glad I had a wristband. Okay, that makes sense.
I'm totally fine with wristbands if they allow them not to be on your wrist. Like if they allow you to take them off and have them attached at like a knot, like, and you know, be able to slip them off. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, they were so nice about it, YetiCon. Yeah. She was like, put it on your bag. Here, I'll make it on your wrist. It was fine.
Cool. It was kind of the last experience I had with wristband was that my hotel for ASEN required you to have their wristband on, like if you're in the hotel, and I'm like, nope, this isn't gonna work out for you guys. Okay, nice try, have fun with that. But that's different news. I think that wraps up this photo. So let's move on to the next shot. This next photo is from Ethereal Studios. Oh, it's like that name is just made for this critique. Aara, do you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so right off the bat, I just wanted to say that I am in love with the way that the patches of light and sunlight kind of fall across the wall and the floor there.
Me too.
Yeah, I think that's just really like spellbinding. Like it's just lovely. And also the model, the cosplayer is so delicate in her pose. She seems very comfortable and she is thoughtfully posing her fingers around her prop as well as in front of her bow. Like every single part of her has been thought of. I think that her wig delicately frames her face here. That's very flattering. And the prop doesn't necessarily block her. I think that it was good to have it down below right there. I will say that looking at the beautiful warm sunlight in contrast to her face, it looks as if her face and perhaps front have maybe there was a flash used. So it's
yeah.
Well, it's brighter, like a harsher brightness than the warmth of the sun. So I
there
wish
definitely
that
was
wasn't quite the case.
Flash. There was also a
flash
flash
out with color going or something.
Yeah, there was also a flash used for the rim light, that pink light behind the hair and stuff.
Yeah, and I don't think that was necessary.
Yeah,
I don't think
so
it was
either.
necessary to light her hair like that. I think the sunlight was beautiful and was enough.
I think if you're gonna do it, I would have almost taken it golden color.
Yeah,
that would have been really nice.
Exactly, that would have been beautiful. I think that she looks lovely. I would say that the prop, if you could just angle it more diagonally, like horizontal a little bit, because it's slightly too vertical and the tip of the brush is being cut off at the bottom of the frame there.
Good.
Yeah, but
Totally.
it's pretty.
Yeah, I'd agree with the lighting. I really like how that light's coming in, that golden color. It's really lovely. What is driving me, I don't want to say nuts, but killing me a little bit in this shot is the framing. She's so close to being center framed, but she's not center framed. and I'm like, I want it to be center framed so bad, but it's just like a little bit weighted to the right. What I would do is just make this photo a little bit more vertical probably, and center frame her, and yeah, I think that would look a lot better. It would just balance out the shot a lot more. As I said before, one of the big things that I think you could do with this shot is probably not do that rim light flash. I don't think it's really doing much for that photo. Usually what you're doing for those rim lights is trying to have them pop out against a background, but I just don't think that's a thing that you really need in this shot. And it's working fine, but like the pink color is part of like what makes that feel really wrong, because there's this disconnect, and Riley is talking about this earlier, is like you've got this nice golden color and then you add the flash feel and it kind of makes this light feel really artificial and wrong. So I would be careful about that. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is...
Someone pointed out that the floor lines aren't lining up with the wall lines. I hate when like construction works against you of a building.
So
like, come on,
I'm
man.
gonna be totally honest. If this were my photo, I would have retouched either all of the floor lines out or all of the floor lines and all of the wall lines out. Because I'm a masochist or something. I don't know.
Oh my god. Maybe just the floor.
I like the lines. I think they're just not...
I like the lines. I don't think...
Compositionally, it's not quite
I
there
think,
yet.
Yeah, I think in the composition, they're not necessarily really working for you in this photo. That's why I would Photoshop them out in this specific photo. Something I want to get into here, which I think is interesting, is the posing. One thing I think you really want to watch out for is, does the cosplayer look like a blob? And what I mean by this is not that they look
rotation.
blobby, but like when you take the silhouette of this cosplayer, can you make out a form? Is there nice curves, or are they just like a square, like with like blobs coming off? I actually in Photoshop really quick made this cutout, so I'll screen share with you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. So you've got like the silhouette is pretty much just like a black square here with like some stuff sticking off of it. Like there's like very little form to it, very little shape, and you've kind of lost the shape of the cosplayer. And I know it's kind of hard in a kimono here, but they do have arms. You can still get curves in there, so this is something to really pay attention to.
Well, I mean, it is a kimono, but kimonos has the sleeve, because I've shot this costume before. The sleeves are like very dramatic, so like you can create interesting shapes, especially with kimono. Like those silhouettes can be stunning.
Totally.
But honestly, I think if she had just rotated her upper body more towards camera, lowered her right shoulder down a little bit, and then turned her other shoulder in, it would have been just as graceful. I think right now, because it's like a straight like side shot, she's a rectangle. I mean, I know that life. I'm a rectangle. So
Jackarufu says bitches love rectangles.
Jack, shut up.
Okay, can I say the one nitpicky thing that's actually driving me nuts in the shot?
Yeah. Wow. What is it? Wait. Is it the leaf?
I was gonna say, is it the leaf?
No.
Is it the black thing at the bottom right?
It's the fucking black thing in the bottom right corner of this image. There's just like a black bar like, hey, I'm chilling here. Let me zoom in for...
Wait, is that another line?
It's just like, a bench or something, like a metal piece. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Get out of here.
You know what I think she's posed like this? I think they wanted to do like an shoulder, but it didn't quite make it there.
Go on.
Do a what?
Like looking over her shoulder, like all the way, but instead of that, she's turned just to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I thought we were still talking about the black. Was like-
Oh, I just got distracted.
It's like, wait, what? I'm so
Actually, you guys got distracted.
Yeah. Yeah, actually it was on us. That's us. Sorry about that. Yeah. Agreed? It's like, what are we
You know,
even
Jack
talking
was
about?
quoting you with the rectangle thing. Apparently, you said that.
Oh, I did say that because all I do is fucking sew kimonos, and so I was like, bitch, singles.
And then you were like, "Get out of here!" At yourself.
Okay, I think about covers this shot. So let's move on to the next one. So this,
I will say just about that shot that it's another very charming full body that a cosplayer would really love because it displays all of the detail. So
That's a good common theme for this critique.
yes.
yes.
Okay, let's move on to this next shot. So this next shot is from Anthony, or Arveld photo. Yeah, probably pronounced that perfect because I'm great at pronouncing things. So hell yeah. Let me grab that Flickr link. Tried to combine Flickr and link into one word. So Flickr. I'm gonna grab that Flickr for you guys.
I hate that word. Just no.
Sorry. So let's. Nope, we're done. We just got broken. Flinked in.
LinkedIn, no.
Oh my god. Whew. Now I'm gonna turn red because I'm laughing too hard. Oh Jesus. Okay. Let's talk about this photo. I'm so sorry, Anthony. So I really love the mood in this shot.
Me too.
Super strong. I think the colors are great. They play into the mood. I'm a big sucker for this kind of lighting where you have fairly soft lighting and the cosplayer is looking off and the light's direction's pretty much coming directly at their face.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a lovely look. I love doing it. And I think it looks really good here. I think the background's really interesting with all the wood stacked in the back. It's pretty unusual, especially for cosplay photography. I don't know how thematically this works for the photo. But
does anyone know what this is?
Yeah, I have no clue what it's from. I should probably keep
It's
that.
like military with like police cuffs and then stacked wood.
I'm gonna say it's from like an idol anime because there's so many like boy idols now, and I don't know, it's like super Ikemen looking. But
that was the vibe I got as well.
I would shoot anything in front of that stacked wood though. That looks so cool.
Yo, big mood.
Yeah, no, it's a really cool background. And whoops, sorry for that error noise. Not something I would have normally like expected to see in cosplay photography. So it's really cool. I really don't have too many complaints about it. The biggest one I have though is cutting off the hand.
The hand, I was like, cutting off the hand is like my only complaint.
Yeah, that's like really one of my only problems with this photo is just, having like, just if they had their hand in just a little bit more so it wasn't cut off would be great. It took me a little bit to realize that they were actually sitting down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they're resting their like elbow on their knee. Like I thought they were like, because the blacks are so compressed here that I thought they were actually like standing and like leaning their arm against like a railing or something at first, because like their legs kind of look like nondescript blackness until you really look at it.
It is an idol boy.
And then you're like, oh, those are legs. I see now. This makes sense.
I don't know if my screen's just really bright, but I saw legs. Like the I don't know. But I also saw something else, like the top of something on the leg. I don't know.
And I think for the most part the retouch is pretty good. There's just some areas that I would spend a little bit of extra time on. kind of the lips are one, and then the arms are another that I would probably have spent a little bit more time retouching. But overall, the mood is super killer in this shot. Guys got thoughts, or are we just gonna sit? We're just gonna.
You say something?
Are you whispering?
No, I didn't say anything. You guys got any thoughts on this one?
I love the colors in this photo.
Me
Like,
too. It's
just-
very peculiar. I like it.
yeah, it's so like almost spooky, even like just really.
I think a big part of it is the cosplayer looks like they're actually in thought and looking at something. Like, it doesn't just feel like they're just blank staring off into the distance. There feels like there's a story behind this. Like, there's actually like they feel like a character, not like you just told the cosplayer to go look this way.
Yeah, they're definitely feeling it.
Yeah.
Like in character.
I would also, now that I look at it a bit more, I think maybe if their hand was just a bit lower so you didn't get that shadow on the tip of their chin, that would also probably help a little bit, because that shadow on the tip of the chin is pretty dark.
Jack.
God damn it. No
I
comments.
see the booty.
Lord Jesus. Yeah,
God.
I really dig this shot. Yeah.
I really have not. I don't really have any critique for it other than the hand.
I think getting real nitpicky, the texture underneath their leg feels like the oddball out, like it's a different color scheme than the background and on the cosplayer. So it makes it feel a little bit odd. I'd maybe add some like warm tones to make it fit a little bit better. But yeah, outside of that and cutting off the hand, those are the really, like, that's the biggest thing that sticks out to me.
Mine was just makeup wise. You mentioned this, but I think maybe because this is a crossplay, they're wearing foundation on their lips. That good old trick from like 2010. And I think the foundation on their lips is a different color than it should be. It's like kind of
It's oddly
whitish greenish.
like gray.
Yeah.
Gray.
I wonder, because if you actually look at the corner of their mouth, there's like a black line coming off there too. It looks like a makeup line, which kind of throws me off. I'll just zoom in for chat here.
Yeah, like the makeup is just.
I mean, that's usually a choice that cosplayers make to like elongate their mouth width, but I think here, because it's not blend, I've never seen a harsh line before, but usually in photos it looks pretty good because you can't tell, but I think maybe how it's lit here, it's not working particularly well. So like in this case, I honestly probably would have just photoshopped it out and then just liquefied their lips, like the line naturally a little bit longer, because clearly that's what they were going for. I wasn't gonna get that nitpicky, but yes.
So bit 60 arcade, unfortunately I cannot read Spanish, so I cannot read your comment, but Google Translate version is very funny, and very
Solo something with there was a vision. I don't know. My 8 years of Spanish were useless and retain shit.
It says Google Translate says not only are castles an idea, a vision, whatever that means. Cool.
It's gotta be a bot.
It very well could be. Who knows? Cool. I think that about wraps it up for that shot. Unless you guys have any final thoughts.
Super cool.
Yeah,
love it.
Literally and figuratively.
Cool. And with that, we are going to take a short 5-minute break. 5 minutes. When we come back, we will be doing a Q&A. So that means we need you guys to think of questions.
No, we don't have Aara coming in with the hot questions.
Yeah, Aara can't ask us questions this time because she's here.
I even have a question already.
Oh my God, Aara, get out of here.
Yay!
So think about your questions that you're going to ask us. I guess we at least have one question if no one asks us questions. Courtesy of Aara. But please think of questions so we actually have things.
Anything.
Yeah, it can be preferably about cosplay photography, but it could be about cosplay or convention scene or anime or just anything if it's even remotely relevant. So think of some questions.
Y'all should watch Demon Slayers.
We're gonna start watching that real soon here, Sarah. I've been watching
so good.
Fruits Basket and Carol and Tuesday. So
I'm emo about Fruits Basket. It's fine.
You watching Carol and Tuesday? Because you should be.
What's that? It's an anime?
Yeah, it's really
Did you
fucking
say
good.
Carol on Tuesday?
And Tuesday.
Oh,
The two
that
main.
sounds
Carolyn?
like Carol and
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Sounds like some
Oh, it's a
white
Netflix
person
series.
soap opera.
It's
Oh no, I've been wanting to watch this.
yeah,
Yes.
it is so freaking good. I'll rant about that more later to you guys, but it's phenomenal. I think it's really interesting. Save those questions. Parth, I see you asking one. Repost that once we get back from break, so I don't have to scroll up and find it again. So we will be back in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. We'll see you shortly. Okay, I'm gonna hit that break button. Boom. I guess we're back. We're talking about anime, guys, but we're back for you. Otherwise, we'd have just spent the whole evening talking about anime.
I want to talk about Demon Slayers.
We're big ol' weebs. Okay, so it's Q&A time, people. So get those questions and we'll get the answers for you. Sweet. We'll start with Lou, which is what's your favorite underrated anime or show you would like to cosplay or photograph?
Underrated.
Eden of the East. Super underrated.
That was such a good show, and the movies
No.
borked it.
Oh, there was a movie?
Yeah, they finished the story with 2 movies.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They were bad. Just pretend they don't exist.
Well, I'm glad I didn't watch it.
They were real boring and didn't really answer as many questions as you would like. But the original series is really good.
Yeah, I love Eden of the East, and let me tell you, I wanted that goddamn Celisao cell phone so bad.
Oh my god.
Highly recommend though. Watch it. It's only 13 episodes.
Yeah.
Short.
You just don't want to get your Joni cut off.
Stop.
That's a big plot point.
I know. And it was literally the first 30 seconds.
Oh my god. It's
Anyway.
the first episode you're gonna watch and be like, what the hell am I watching?
It's great.
Aara, you got one?
Yeah. Cropping etiquette. So,
Oh, wait, what? No,
what are you?
no, an
I know
answer
it's
to the question.
preferential.
Answer the
What?
question. Cropping etiquette is your most underrated anime that you want to cosplay from?
Oh no, that's my question. I thought you said you have a
No,
question.
you gotta
Oh, what?
answer the question,
Anime
Aara.
underrated? Oh god, that's
You're here to answer the questions, not ask them, Aara. Come on.
Oh, sorry. See, I got confused about my role. I'm so used to
Killing
doing
it.
the one thing. Okay.
You're so
Anime.
cute.
I don't know. I don't have an answer to this one. I honestly underrated anime. I don't know.
Aara just leaves. I feel like most of my favorite shows are underrated and not very popular, so I feel like I have a bunch of answers to this.
I guess popular in the cosplay photography. I would really love a photo shoot of Steins Gate. But I think
Oh, yeah.
photographers are frequently interested in what's trending or what is stunning, and Steins Gate outfits or clothes.
We've got three Kurisu figures right over there because she's a waifu.
And so because they wear clothing and because it's not flashy or sexy, I feel as if it's underrated. But I know Steins Gate as an anime is obviously not underrated. It's very highly rated. So my answer is not a good one.
I really
that works.
want to do a Banner of the Stars or Crest of the Stars cosplay photography thing. I think
I
that's
literally am like, what is that?
yeah. I mean, pretty much no one knows what it is, and that's fine. I've seen it cosplayed once, so
Oh my god, I don't recognize it.
yeah, that would be my incredibly underrated one that like no one knows of. But yeah, that would be fun. Some people
Does
are gonna know
anybody
it, but-
remember Skullgirls?
Yeah,
It's like a
Because
video
the
game?
fighting game.
Yeah, I think
I
they're still
cosplayed
doing
from
stuff
that.
from
you
that.
did.
That's underrated.
Let's see. I think Parth asked this question, which is, what would you do in an unexpected situation where your cosplayer falls into say Lake Michigan during a photo shoot, thus ruining their wig in further shoots? That sounds like a very specific question.
If I fell into a lake as a cosplayer, I would cry because that's yucky.
Especially Lake Michigan.
I would freak out.
Oh God, I can't get
hate
this question.
open water. I would just have like a full-on anxiety attack, and I'd be like, "Day's over. I need to go pet some goddamn dogs."
Oh
like,
God, no God, we're not getting this entire.
Honestly,
question on the
anything
screen.
with bugs, I'm outie. Like, I need bug spray at shoots, and lakes sound like there would be a lot of mosquitoes.
That's the closest I'm getting. Lake Michigan ain't the cleanest of lakes either. That's the closest I'm getting to getting it all on the screen.
It's good enough. They get it.
That's a mood. I don't even know how you do that. Don't put your.
I would buy the cosplayer a drink that afternoon and like go home.
Yeah. That one's hard because like. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is if you put them into the situation, like you are asking them to do this specific thing and put them in that situation, I would try and go out of your way to help them out or make it right in however ways you can. Like, I'm not saying that you should like offer to like flat out replace their cosplay or anything, but you should, I think, make steps to try and express that you're sorry other than just like apologizing for it. And make sure for the love of God you got some good photos before they fell into the lake, because if that was the start of the shoot and you got no photos, fuck, you need to turn around and get those photos that you took out like right away and be like, hey, at least we got some awesome stuff. Yeah, and be careful.
Wait, you went into the lake too? Oh
God.
no.
Be careful with your cosplayers. I tend to try and be the one, like, I'm going to put myself in harm's way and try to avoid putting the cosplayer in harm's way. So like, yeah, don't be stupid. Also, I feel like I'm bad because I have done stupid things like this before. But just like, if you're gonna do it, make sure that you're like, understand that you are taking some responsibility in it, which is hard, but I think it's an important contextually.
Oh, no. Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. So sad, but
That's
so funny.
sad. That is sad. I'm sure that pond at YetiCon probably is not very good.
It's nasty.
I went into the water for a shoot once at KatsuCon. That was gross.
That's different. You voluntarily did.
Yeah. Well, yes.
But did you push a Disney princess?
No, I
into
didn't.
the
No, I didn't.
pond?
That's terrible.
Oh,
This is so bad. Oh my God. Okay. This one I believe was from Bobo, which asks, what's one anime you would recommend to introduce someone to the hobby?
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yeah. Brotherhood.
Best introductory anime of any anime.
The only reason I would say maybe no to that one, even though I totally agree with you, is I tend to try and get one that's shorter for the introductory anime.
Suck it up. If you're gonna get into anime, you gotta be in for the investment.
You gotta start out.
It's not like
with
you're
the
starting
long,
them
big
off with
animes,
One
yeah.
Piece, where it's like 900 episodes.
My like default answer to this, I think, will probably always be Cowboy Bebop.
Okay, that's fair.
It depends on the
Yes.
person.
Yeah, it does.
But
because there are some people that are interested in the action and the quick stimuli, and Cowboy Bebop is art,
Seinfeld.
and it requires almost analysis.
Yeah.
I think for me, I think Cowboy Bebop is great on many levels because it feels very Western. It's got a really good dub, so you don't have to be like, here, read subs. That's
true. The dub is not terrible.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I would pay attention to in terms of giving someone an introductory anime is how much it uses anime tropes, because there's so many tropes in anime that have become part of like the animation language that we don't even think about. Like what I'm talking about like is sweat bubbles on the side of the head, like, or like the angry mark that you see on a character, all these kind of things that you don't think that you don't think of. That like someone who's never watched anime before is like, what the hell does this mean? And there's a bunch of like anime tropes that we just kind of write off too, that are like, whatever, this happens in anime.
Oh my god.
I love, she's like, attention now, please. Oh my god, it's amazing.
He's like literally in my lap right
now.
Just pick them up, and then they'll be like, nope, nope.
Yeah, then she'll run away.
Yeah. It's hard. Eric Jaworski says, or Eric Jaws says, Ghibli is good, and it's hard because I agree with that, but it feels almost so far away from anime in like the traditional episode TV approach sense that like it's hard. It's almost like a hard gateway because Ghibli movies are so good and don't feel like almost all anime. So it's like, yes, technically it's anime, but like,
so that's
hard,
kind of my argument of why I think Ghibli should be like someone's first introduction to anime, because I think there's a huge misconception that anime is childish and like dumb and immature and like things like that. But it's like anime can be like, some anime I watch has some of the darkest themes that you'll find in children television animation programs. So like I think Ghibli is a good way to introduce the idea that like animation isn't just for kids, like it's for adults too. So that's usually why I try to start with a Ghibli. Usually like my go-to is either Spirited Away or Princess Mononoke or Howl's Moving Castle. I think those are three really good gateways into it, because they have those like anime tropes, but they're a lot like, you know how Ghibli does it. Like we're not stupid. I don't need to sit here and explain it. But
everyone's seen that stuff. So
so it's like I think it is a good gateway. But series wise, if I was to solely pick a series, it would be FMA Brotherhood. But if it's just to literally get someone into animation, like anime, it'd be Ghibli movies. She's so cute. Pick her up.
I love just meowing, and the paw comes up like.
Bye.
The only reason I'm not saying, like, I feel like everyone should watch Ghibli movies even if they're not interested in anime, because they're freaking excellent. The only reason
you appreciate art.
Yeah, the only reason I'm like skeptical if someone's trying to get into anime is because they're just like so different from most anime, and they're just so good. They almost set the bar almost like too high.
But it's like,
I agree and disagree at the same time.
I feel like Ghibli's animation is on a different level, but you still need to get them past that mindset that animation is like an acceptable form of media.
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to say. Boo-boo!
now, just like I love
She's
how
so unhappy.
She's
like, I wanted attention, but not this kind of attention.
I love how angry she looks when you hold her. She's just like,
angry.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions, or do we want to get on your question, Aara, since you had one on your mind? Do your question, Aara. What was your question?
Oh, my question?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cropping preferences.
Oh,
So
I heard
I'm
crapping
curious because
preferences at
I've
first, and I was like, what?
seen some people with pet peeves about how their photos are posted on Instagram. And typically I like to um, show the full-sized photo by using some sort of app to square fit it so that you can see the whole thing. But I will swipe to that. And then the first photo I have as an Instagram fit, like just however Instagram wants to allow the photo to fit. And that's not because I prefer the photo that way. I actually prefer it full sized with the composition as it should be displayed. But the Instagram algorithm actually does not favor that. Your post will be seen more, or at least engaged with more, if the first image displayed is cropped to Instagram's size and then you swipe to the full size. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But also,
So,
fuck the algorithm.
I don't know.
Are you asking like? I'm not sure if I know what you're asking.
I understand what you're getting at. I'm just not sure what the
Yeah.
question in the topic is.
Sorry, I can't hear you guys.
Oh no!
Oh Lord, can you hear us? Are we here?
Oh wait, I can hear you now.
Can you hear us?
Can you radioing into Aara, Earth to Aara?
No.
We lost you. Oh no.
Oh
no.
no!
She doesn't get to hear our answer at all. Apparently, she's gotta wait. I love how you're being so suspenseful, Aara. You're just like not saying anything either. We're just like, we don't know. You're just holding
Okay,
up a.
I can
What?
hear you now.
Okay, cool.
Good.
You were just like holding up a finger,
Wow, that
like
was strange.
you're just like, and I'm like, what does this mean? You're not even saying anything. You're just like,
That was so strange. I couldn't hear you guys.
So
what we were asking.
someone asked, what app do you recommend? Okay, so my problem is with the square is that I hate it makes your photo smaller, obviously. So when you even give it the border, it makes your photo smaller. So I did this on a different stream, but I'll do it again. So I don't know what the hell Instagram's like ratio is,
shit.
but it's like not a 4:3, it's not a 5:7, it's like who the fuck knows what it is.
Oh shit, we got a
So
Kaze
a lot of
mic
people resort to having their vertical photo squished into a square. Like I said, I don't like that. So a good example is like I use this app called Square Ready. Oh my god, Miko!
Yeah, we got a Kaze cat raid. It's going crazy in here.
Where's Danny Raid? Okay, anyway. So Square Ready allows me to show my full vertical photo, but it takes up the full vertical aspect ratio that you have to work with in Instagram. So instead of confining this photo, for example, so this is the full vertical photo, but it's not confined to a 1:1 ratio. So let me know if there are other apps. This is the only one I know of, but there's this app called Square Ready. This is what the icon looks like. It's super ratchet. There's like ads. You can't avoid it. But that's what I use. And so then what I usually do for my post, is like, Aara, I just do what you do. I do like the zoomed in version first because I know that's what, for some reason, Instagram likes better. And then when you swipe, it's like the full version.
Yeah. Yes. So for vertical, I use Square Ready too because you recommended it and it works for me. I also, the blur borders of Square Ready are not blurry enough for my preference. It adds a bunch of extra noise. So I use PixArt.
So when it's like the full screen image but blurred out in the background.
When people do so Instagram's portrait crop, it's 4:5.
Is it?
So the 4:5. Yeah.
Yeah, it's their portrait crop. Yeah.
So Instagram's 4:5 portrait crop. When you fit a vertical photo to the 4:5 so that there's two side borders, in Square Ready, or I mean what a lot of people do is they add the same photo but blurred in the background. And some of that it's not blurry enough. So there's a bunch of visual noise on So I
you
use
know you
Pixar
can-
instead.
So you can change that in Square Ready.
Yeah, you can, but it still doesn't get blurry enough for my preference.
Really? Oh, so you like
Yeah.
it like really blurry.
I like it basically colored blobs. Otherwise, I think it distracts.
So if you actually notice, I do that kind of in the critique streams here. When I show the full screen images, that's actually what I'm doing, is something similar to that, but I've made Photoshop actions for this.
Oh my
hell
god,
yeah.
I haven't used the color blobs in so long.
Yeah, so I
Jackarufu,
use
thanks for those
Pixar.
100 bits, man. Hell yeah. The biggest thing that I'd say is, in terms of if there's a question as a cosplayer, I would just always ask the photographer, like, how would you prefer this displayed, and see if they have a preference. Kind of what we said up front, like, communication is key. If you ever have any questions on things, just ask people. They're going to be like, oh, hell yeah. Especially because lots of photographers do not like it when you crop their photo, especially if the crop would end up cropping out their watermark. That can really infuriate people. So, like, just ask. And oftentimes
It's really horizontal. Like,
yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah,
It's literally impossible to do, but I've seen it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how? How did you do that?
And oftentimes photographers will be like, oh yeah, here, I have versions for you to post, like, already here, right for you.
Yes,
So,
I love that.
Well, I gotta start cropping it 4x5 now. Ew.
Fuck the algorithm. Don't care. I just do everything as square and just. So I'm a freaking nerd and actually do all of my cropping and stuff with Photoshop actions.
Fine.
Because
I don't
think
give a
it's 4 by
shit.
5.
Just credit
Yeah.
me. I don't care. No one reads watermarks anyway.
Yeah, I think that's enough on the crop. Did anyone have any quick final questions for us before we leave the Q&A section? I think we got to everyone that posted a question. I liked how nerdy we got on the anime shit there. That was fun. I'll give it like another 10 seconds, see if we get any final questions rolling
No more
in.
questiones.
Give it 5, 4,
Average.
3, 2, 1. Okay, if you have questions, save those for the next critique then. We'll be back. We'll have more questions to answer in the future, so just save those in your memory bank. New live edition sessions possible. What is it? Oh, live edit sessions?
Hell no.
I occasionally do photo editing sessions, so keep an eye out. Follow me on Twitch. That's the easiest way to see those. Hey, let's get back into the critique here. Oh, that is the very first photo. We don't want to go on that one. We're going to go to photo number 7, and this one is from Lou. Sarah, do you want to start us off on this? I will grab that Flickr link for everyone. Flinker, I should say. Whenever you're ready, Sarah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right. For a minute I really thought you said Aara, so I was kind of confused actually. Anyway,
Sarah, Aara, it's like the same name but just minus an S, you know.
All right. So first of all, I love the lines in this photo. I think this is like a really good use. Is this a wide angle lens? Yes. Maybe not. Maybe I don't know what it is.
Let's see.
But Lou, what's the focal length of this lens?
We can probably pull this from the photo itself.
It's not in the Flickr.
Oh yeah, it's not in the Flickr. Yeah, it's not showing. It's annoying.
Regardless, I like the wider angle of it. I say this like every stream. I'm horrible at wide angle. 50 millimeter. Okay, that's what I thought. 'Cause I was like, there was no distortion, so I wasn't sure. Yeah, this is great. I think this is a great shot. This is an unusual angle for the 50, especially because that's all I use. I would know. So I really like the lines that you're creating with the trees and how like the cosplayer is like perfectly framed by them. And I really like the colors. I think the saturation is really nice. Like the greens and reds go well together in my opinion. I like how you added more blue tones into the greens and you've added some blues into the shadows. blue, don't kill me, but for me personally, this is an instance where the faded look has also gone a little bit too far. Usually an indicator for me is when you lose a lot of detail in something, and so for me, like the wig, it kind of just becomes like a dark blue shape.
Agreed.
You can't differentiate the different fibers within the wig, so I think if you're ever wondering if you're taking that faded look too far, that's a good way to look at it, is like, are you losing a lot of detail in a very concentrated area? So for me, the tip off was the wig. So you have like the blue fade or like the very dark navy blue fade for the shadows, but then you also have the fade effect being created by the light rays, which I really like, but I think because you have two instances of this fade overlay, it's flattening the image, not in a good way. So I would tone that down a bit. A good way to like alleviate some of that I've noticed is like when I do like the faded look is I'll usually do like a soft light color fill layer of the same color that I'm gonna use for the fade and put that at like 10 to 30%. It really depends on what the image is, and then you put the light in layer on top. But again, this is just me assuming that that's what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. Anyway. Yeah. This is cool.
I really like the red-green combo here.
Yeah,
it's working really well with those complementary colors. I would maybe have made the red have just a little bit less pink tones to better go with the green personally, but I still think it's really strong. Couple nitpicky things. I think the sun rays that you added as an overlay, I would lighten those up a little bit. I feel like they're just a bit too strong, especially over the face. I think they look good. I just think they're a little bit too much.
Too harsh. I agree.
I also think the saturation on the face is a little bit too strong. And we're getting some like weird color tones on the face here too. Like we're getting kind of this like purple right on the nose, a little funky. And you get that a little bit of like that underneath the chin as well. I just try and desaturate the colors on the face a little bit, and then try and work that color uniformity a little bit more, because those purples just don't feel quite right. I dig the angle. I wish we got I love how much of like the cosplay we see, and we see so much detail. I wish we could make out a little bit more fabric of the actual figure of the cosplayer, because like similar to the other kimono photo that we had earlier, you kind of lose the shape of the body at all. You kind of like see the head, and then the rest of it just kind of becomes like a blob of a silhouette. Like the fact that we can see the hand helps here, but I'd maybe like to see the other arm and maybe kind of give us some like negative space in their body shape somewhere, so that we can make out that shape of what their body is, because right now it's just like one solid shape. I don't think it's bad, but I think that could definitely help take it to the next level.
Good.
I would also echo your faded look. I do think it's just a bit too strong. It's really just like in the hair. That's the only place that it feels too strong.
It's really just the hair for me.
I think this photo is very unique, and I guess you took it in a direction that's bold and not seen very often. You managed to take a shot from far beneath the cosplayer while still allowing it to be flattering to their face and jaw. Very hard to achieve. Like, it looks great.
Yeah, it's hard to get these low angles and make them look good, so props. I do really like the angle and the lines. Based on what I've seen of yours, Lou, I really like this shot. This feels like a change of pace for you, and I really dig it. Kitty seconds those feelings.
It's just like, please stop.
Just like, pay attention to me, not the screen. Whatever's on there is not as important as me.
Yes. Yep. That's what she's saying.
So cute.
let's move on to the next shot. So this next one is from Momaji. Aara, do you want to start us off on this one?
Absolutely. So my first impressions, I do not know who this character is or what they are from. I tried to look it up. I think it's a mobile game, which would explain why I'm unfamiliar with it.
Is it Omioji?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know if it was Omioji or maybe like an Okami Gajenka.
No, it's the first thing you said.
Okay.
But I love it.
Yeah,
They're
it's
like a white
Amioji.
kitsune type
It's
of character.
Yoko from Amioji.
Yeah.
Mm,
So I thought that this image was um pretty enchanting. I think that it shows pretty good collaboration between the photographer and the cosplayer. They look comfortable, they're well posed. You can definitely tell there was thought put into the composition. And I think that I enjoy how elegant they look and calm looking off frame like that. It draws nice attention to their makeup and to the red and white contrast. That being said, my first critique I'm so sorry. My
You're
first
fine.
critique
Don't even worry
would
about it.
Kitty.
my first critique would be that the white is definitely overexposed on
100%.
back fixture behind the cosplayer as well as on their robes and even a little bit maybe on their wig. And I just think that the exposure is jarring, and if that had been fixed, this would be a lot more enjoyable to look at, and it would fit that elegant calmness more. That serenity that it's going for is not supported by the colors. So compositionally, I really think it's beautiful and enchanting, and the cosplayer looks great. But the colors are what's disrupting the message and the atmosphere. So the green, I would deepen those greens, I would deepen that red, and use I would use rich, elegant colors to continue to support that theme.
I think adding like more cooler tones, I think that's what you're saying. Maybe not.
Yeah, like make that the green less yellow. Make it more
Yes.
like deep blue almost.
Yeah, because you can complement it to the red orange very well by doing that. As
Yeah.
it's kind of that yellow green, not so much. That's like one of my least favorite colors is that yellow green. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
kind of
And
feel
I
like I'm
think that
biased. So yeah.
the shadows are lost a little. I would definitely, even when you look at shadows under the leaves, on their sleeve here, around their face even, it's just not dark enough. They're not deep enough.
Yeah, I think the overall exposure of this image just like it's just too bright. Even like not regarding the blown out highlights, which are problematic, especially that pillar in the background. Like just the overall brightness of this image is just too bright. Like you need to take it down a notch.
Grid.
It'll look so much better if you just take this exposure down just a little bit. Other things, I think the angle could have been a little bit better. The like left top corner of the screen with kind of that like rock gravel area, and the top grass is just like real boring. And if you had shot that angle a little bit differently, like you kind of moved yourself to the left so that you get kind of those leaves all in the background, I think the shot is going to be a lot more interesting for it. And that way you don't have the cosplayer situated against the white pillar, and then you can have a bit more of their sideways angle so they're not like straight up and down. You could get like the angle off from their knees and have them be in a more interesting shape.
I do agree. I think the environment that they were shooting in wasn't fully utilized to what it could be, because I think the white pillar thing is distracting, but I think that also has something to do with the fact that it's a little too bright.
Mhm.
But something I try to keep in mind, because I know this can be hard, especially because this is just like a lot to think about, like when you're shooting. Like you have to like think about like, is the model okay? Is the wig ratchet? Does the prop look good? Is the costume functioning? Like, is the light good? How's their face angle? Like literally the list goes on and on and on. So like trying to keep track of all these things is hard. But a good rule of thumb that I try to keep is like when I'm shooting in an area that has like a lot of background elements, I always try to ask myself, like, is whatever is on the background benefiting to my composition? Like, is it actually serving some kind of purpose, whether it's for like a visual thing, like is it creating interesting lines, or is it just an obstruction? Like, is it just there? Because to me personally, the white pillar is just there. It's not really doing anything for the composition in an interesting way, and it's also competing with the cosplayer because the cosplayer is mostly white colored and the pillar's white, so it's like you have these two competing elements. So that's a good thing to like try and keep in mind, like when you're shooting in areas that have like all of these like things. Because I think personally for me, if I was shooting here in this situation, I would probably have them up against all of the green stuff, so it was like more contrasting and they were like sticking out more. um that's just me. Anyway.
Definitely would agree. Yeah, I was just playing around with this in Photoshop quick, and I think bringing down that that exposure helped a lot. So especially if you shot this in RAW, you probably have more details than are in the JPEG. So yeah, definitely bring down that exposure. Any other thoughts on this one?
No.
Okay, let's move on to the next shot. So this next one is from Manny Z Media. Let me grab that link for you guys in chat. Here you are. I really like this from a compositional point of view. I think having a cosplayer against kind of like flowery foliage stuff looks really cool, especially if you can entirely fill the background with it. It's a really cool effect that I really dig. The sharpness of this image works, I think, pretty well, but I'd like to maybe see a bit of vignette so we get a little bit more focus on the cosplayer. Like the top left corner of this just feels pretty bright and feels like it's competing with the cosplayer a ton. So I'd probably just try and darken that just so that you kind of have the more focus on the cosplayer. There's a couple things that I come to mind at the first glance when I look at this image. Number one is just the unfortunateness of the blazer that's getting a bunch of moire pattern on the screen. That's just sucks. Like, it's actually at full screen, looks totally fine. Let me see if I can screen share for you guys here so you can see that it.
I was like, what are you?
Do you guys see the moire pattern in it where it gets all funky here? Like, especially at certain zoom levels. Like,
when it's like,
yeah, it gets real bad.
It kind of reminds me of when you photograph a television screen.
Yeah. There's nothing you can do about that. Like, it's just like one of those things where it's like, that sucks. And the other part is the skin color in this photo. Her skin just ends up looking really, really saturated and orange. It feels pretty unnatural. I think if you tone down that saturation a ton, that would help, especially like just overall the image feels a bit too saturated. Like the greens in the background feel like they're a bit too overbearing to me. Her skin tone's too saturated. Her eyes are so saturated. They look like they're about to shoot lasers at me. They're just like glowing blue. I would definitely.
And it's even off the edge a little.
Yeah. It's really intense. Like, yeah, Aara mentioned that the blue kind of goes past the edge of the eye, which you can see if I zoom in here for you guys. it's pretty intense. So toning that down would help a lot. But I think the most egregious offender to me is the orange of the skin tones. Parth had mentioned that the face is much darker than the hands. That tends to happen in photos a lot. But I think you could have balanced it out a little bit in post, and that would have helped. But I don't think that's super egregious. I'd
That's
worry.
just a natural thing. Like
Yeah,
your hands are going to be lighter than.
I'd worry more
face.
about the skin tones than the brightness, although it is something that you could work on. And then the last thing that I want to bring up that kind of is driving me nuts, as a glasses wearer, is that her glasses are kind of doing like this.
Yeah, I was like, they're a
And
little
they're not.
off.
Yeah, they're off the bridge of her nose and kind of falling off. And I'm like, ugh. That kind of drives me nuts. Like that would be something. Kind of makes me think she's maybe not a glasses wearer normally, because as a glasses wearer I can feel that instantly and I'm like, oh, this is so annoying, and would fix it automatically, but maybe the person doesn't wear glasses normally and we have a hard time like noticing that, so that's something just to really pay attention to. I have another thought, but if you guys want to jump in before I
was like, I have a nitpick,
Go
but it's
for
just
it.
like that wig hair that's just kind of like, maybe it was like a little windy when they were shooting, but I would have taken the time to like at least like smooth that out a bit. Because I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like cleaning things up while you're shooting.
Yeah, no, it's pretty ridiculous. That just like one piece of hair. It's like, oh no.
It's like so clean in a weird way for a wig.
Yeah, the other thing that I would like to dive into deep here is the retouch. This is something we talked about earlier in the critique, where you've retouched the image and lost the skin texture. This especially hurts because you've the way that this was shot, you get actually a bunch of ISO texture as well as skin texture. I'm gonna zoom in for wrong one. Zoom in for everyone on chat, so you can see you've got a bunch of skin texture as well as kind of like photo grain, and then you can see in these areas where it's been totally smoothed out. There's no grain, there's no texture at all. You get a bunch of that under the eye, especially like there's also this kind of weird artifacting from retouching, and just kind of things look smudgy and weird and bad. I kind of imagine under the eye you were trying to get rid of the shadow from the glasses. That would be my guess, is what this was attempt to. This is another perfect situation to use frequency separation, because like right now this just kind of makes the retouch look pretty muddy to me, because you've lost all that texture, and it's like was pretty like clear to me, like at this view you don't really notice it like in terms of like the texture, but you do kind of notice the feeling. Like,
yeah,
you're just like, something feels off about this retouch. It just kind of feels smudgy and weird. And then you kind of look a little bit closer and you realize there's no texture, and it's like, oh yeah, that's why.
Also, there's no dimension to the face. It's like, I know that like, especially now that beauty cam is such a big thing, we want like that perfect looking skin, but like in reality, like that's not how skin is. And it's like whatever the beauty cam algorithm is to make the filters do that, it does a good job, but when you actually manually do it yourself, I would say like majority of the time it does not look good.
I
Like,
think that we can
really
embrace facial structure too. It's shadows along the cheeks and, you know, even sometimes around the nose and eyes, like they're not
that's
always bad
natural.
shadows. Yeah, like bone structure is important to retain in a photo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, it's also all subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally.
I do want to talk about. I know we're trying to avoid it, but I'm gonna bring it up anyway.
Go for it.
The tone of the skin is just, I mean, maybe I don't know the character and maybe she is supposed to be like a bit orange, but like as far as natural skin tone colors go, and I'm not talking like it's not right. Like, and I've seen this before on like other photos, um, where like this like the skin tone color is just taken like a little bit too orange. Like it's not a it's just don't do
Yeah.
it. Just don't do it. It's not natural. It's not a real skin color. Like
It's
we're
hard because
not
it's just too orange, and we get a lot
too
of
orange.
like orange color happens in skin, but it's rarely that orange. It's usually more
Mhm.
in the pinkish colors instead of the orangish colors, and rarely is skin this saturated.
Like
Um,
even when you're like really tan from the summer, like you're not orange.
mhm.
You're more of like a rich brown color. There's two completely different spectrums going on here.
Okay. Fucking white specs. Okay, there's one person that has that skin color, and it's not
We don't talk about
good.
that person.
That person's the devil. No one wants to be a Cheeto. Yeah.
I
No.
love the flowers. I just love anything with flowers though. Like as far as photo
Oh, the
location
backdrop
go,
is great.
it's so pretty. This is
But
so cute.
the
But
skin tone,
yeah,
I'm gonna say this. This is controversial. It's not controversial. I'm just saying this as my personal preference. If my skin tone looks orange, I'm not gonna post it because a question that we get a lot is, how do you feel if a cosplayer doesn't post a photo that you've
Yeah.
taken of them? And for me personally, a lot of the time it's because my skin tone has been butchered.
Yeah.
If I look like fucking douchebag in the White House, I'm not gonna post it.
This one's hard. I don't disagree with you at all, Sarah, but I think it's hard because you can actually change the skin tone a fair amount and have it look fairly artistic. And but like
But no
that's a
one does
fine
that.
line. That's a fine line to walk, and you have to be pretty confident, I think, when you're doing that. And almost never is it to be taken to orange. If you're gonna take it to a different color, you need to match it to the mood of the photo, and it usually has to be a pretty
Humans aren't
drastic
orange. The
change.
end.
And I think the biggest thing that you want is something called color variability. So
Yes.
we're gonna get into the weeds here a little bit, but that's fine. That's kind of what this is for, I guess. So if you look at photos and how a camera captures color, highlight saturation and shadow saturation are not the same, and highlight colors and shadow colors are not the same. So oftentimes you're like the shadows are going to be less saturated and they're going to be a cooler color. So when you do this, where you have like in this shot, if I take the color sampler and move it around, there is almost no color variability here. I'm going to do screen share for everyone so they can see what I'm talking about. Okay, I'll grab the color tool, I'll move it right here, and we're going to sample around. If you look, and you look in this area where we're taking that hue, where the hue picker is, and I move it around on this orange, if I move it to the shadows, it's not changing at all. It's maybe dipping to the reds just a little bit. Like the brightness is changing, but the saturation level is not changing, and the hue's not changing. And all three of those things should be changing at least a little bit. That's what makes human skin like look real. And when it becomes this flat like single hue color, that's where we have problems. So like it's just really problematic. And sometimes photos turn out that way where the skin looks that way, and it's something that you can edit and post fairly, I don't want to say fairly easily because it's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's something you can fix, and it's going to make your shot look a lot better. So that's something that once you start doing that and playing around with the skin tones, having different color and saturations and the highlights and shadows, you can make skin look really awesome. So something to pay attention to in the near future for you. Excuse me. I think that's about good enough for this shot. We spent quite a bit of time on it. I think this shot is really good, and I think some time in editing in post, you can make this shot even substantially better. So I'd love to see if you end up going back to this photo at all. I'd love to see what you end up doing with it in post. I think there's a lot of potential in this shot.
Agreed.
Okay, let's move on to the next shot. So this next one is from FX Dandy or Felix, and
Gross.
we're here to roast Felix because that's what he's into.
It sucks. Move on.
Sarah, do you want to start off on this one?
Yes.
Yes.
First off, now that I know the context of the face, I'm pretty impressed that Stella was able to get her costume into this space, because not only was dude fucking, maybe when Felix was there wasn't, but when I was there in this hotel, there was like this guy that would like come in like every 15 to 20 minutes being like, you guys gotta wrap it up, and be like, oh my god, dude, shut up. It was weird. Like, there were certain hours of the day where it was fine to shoot in the lobby of this hotel, and then there were like hours like this guy would just come in all the time. Anyway, also this space is actually a pretty small area to work in. So I think it's cool that he was able to incorporate her into this framing, because that picture frame in the back is pretty cool looking. And is an interesting part to have like in your photo. Felix said roast him. Anyway, so I'm going to assume you used a flash, because there's no way in hell you got this from Windows. Also, she's not facing.
I think I see
us,
like
so.
the reflection looks like it's from like an octobox or something. It's got that kind of
Oh yeah,
shape
in
in
her
it.
eyes.
No, like in the mirror in the background.
Oh
Yeah, I wasn't gonna. Okay, I was.
But like I'm saying, you
whatever.
can like actually make out the shape of the light, like that's where I've seen it.
So Felix has done a considerable amount of retouching on this photo. And I think he did like a really good job making it look seamless. But I think it was taken a little bit too far for my liking. I think the skin looks too smooth. So like another common theme seems to be that the smoothing of skin in this series of in the photos.
It's interesting because I feel like this is the opposite of the other retouches, where the texture.
It is the opposite, because he still has retained some texture.
Yeah, the texture's
but
there.
I think, yeah, but the way that it's lit, it looks too. Something is not.
Okay, I can articulate this if you're kind of like.
I was like, I don't know what it is, but it feels too smooth to me. Also, I feel like this is kind of going on the previous photo too. It's looking a little orange, a little borderline, not tan, a little orange.
Couple
Sorry,
thoughts
Felix.
on that one. I agree with you on the orangeness. I think it helps here because there's way more color variability in this shot. Like the highlights and the shadows are way different. So it helps. So to me, I think I know exactly what happened in this retouch, which is to say frequency separation was used, but I imagine used a Gaussian blur level that was maybe too low, and you started blending. And what's happened here is you've left only the very fine surface detail. However, you've lost like so much of the minor color shifts, so her skin just feels kind of plasticky. There's like, it's all just so incredibly smooth. You don't get like minor color shifts. You don't get minor, like her skin is just utterly smooth and flawless. There's like, it almost looks like she has texture, but it makes it look like she almost doesn't have pores on her skin. There's also areas where you kind of I feel like blurred with the frequency separation and weren't paying attention to the edges enough. If I can zoom in, there's pieces of her breastplate which like around this corner here, you can kind of see how the skin tone and the breastplate kind of blur together. So you kind of lose where the edge of the breastplate is. not to be inappropriate, but there's other places here, like you lose this line here and you kind of just like, there's just like a blurry, muddy area along these edges here because you've spent so much time trying to blur that things just got kind of muddy, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I
think something I noticed is maybe just returning to the original to flip back and forth and recognize which shadows are pretty natural. I think her left collarbone is missing, and under her, for me, the most noticeable part is her armpit.
That was the other thing I was going to get into.
I think armpits, even though they're, a little bit of a weird part of our body, I still think it needs to be a little darker there. And there's a line where her arm should connect to her body that's lost. And I don't think that line is a flaw. I think it's necessary to prevent that kind of uncanny valley Barbie doll look.
Yeah, it makes it look like her arm and her her side are like connected in a singular piece.
Yeah, so that's because the breastplate is actually connected via. She's actually wearing a shirt, like a mesh shirt. So I think a lot of that detail. Yeah. So so
I've seen the original thing, so
wow, good on you then for editing out the straps and the mesh.
I know what was done here, but like it's still.
But I can see it still got lost.
Yeah, it doesn't change the end result, but it was a hard thing to do, and I've done similar things to do. It's not easy, so props for giving it a try. But another place where I think like the color gets a little muddy and messy is along the collar. You can see it here where you've got the color of the collar kind of bleeding into the skin tones. I also think the highlights on the face are a bit too hot. Like it's like and on the wings as well. I would have dropped the highlights a little bit in post, or have taken the flash down like a stop maybe. I think there's a lot here. I think going back and paying more careful attention to this retouch, I think you could work this shot a lot better. It's hard because like I'm sure you already spent a lot of time on this shot because it is a difficult shot to do and edit. You've kind of gone. This is kind of like what I'd categorize into the above and beyond retouching, where the cosplayer is wearing the cosplay in a certain way, and you're taking their cosplay and kind of like elevating it to what it should look like, what they're trying to emulate, by like removing certain aspects of the cosplay or fixing certain aspects of the cosplay. And that's difficult and very time consuming. And props on you for trying to go that route. I do just think that it could, now that you've done it, I think you can recognize a lot of the areas where it didn't work out, and you could probably approach it better a second time. So yeah,
it's so amazing that you edited out a shirt and straps though. That's crazy.
Yeah,
like, oh my god.
Yeah, when I saw that mesh shirt, I was like, God. I was like,
yeah, I never would have guessed.
Yeah, it's, let me see if I can
It's a lot.
My internet will go because I'm not using it, or I'm using it for everything else. I was going to see if I could find the original so that we could kind of like get more context to
this is such a beautiful
done. Trying to see if I can find it real quick, or at least a photo of it. Not this original photo, but like just a photo of the cosplay in general. I'm not finding one, but oh well, whatever. I think that about wraps up this shot anyways, so you guys ready to move on to the next one? Okay, so let us go to this next shot, which is from Rem Create, or Ray. Aara, do you want to start us off on this one?
Sure. So I think that right off the bat, this portrait is very flattering. I think it's one of those gorgeous glamour shots that shows like a nice attention to making the cosplayer look good, right? So the whites of the costume aren't I guess, like, super blown out. I feel like that's been kind of added this, like, almost, like, cool tone, like a tealish, grayish kinda thing. It's one of those another one of those faded looks. What are we calling that? Soft contrast or something? I can't
Like a
remember.
million different
Um,
things we're calling
oh,
it. So
the low Asian editing, low contrast. I don't know.
I
Yeah.
Oh my
It's low contrast, right? And I think that it's so soft. So the wig looks very soft and lovely. The cosplayer looks um soft as well, like just pretty. I will say that while the dark background, it's really like simplistic to complement the cosplay, I can still see like a
the
leg
yeah.
flag.
and multiple different lights.
Yeah, all the
In
camera
fact,
gear.
like a lot of different lights, and then
Oh, I didn't notice the lag. Holy shit.
the New Year logo is really distracting because we're familiar with it too, or how we pronounce it. But the leg is scary because I can't find the person.
Yeah, oh my god, I hate.
Okay, I'm
Um,
gonna just blow the contrast out for people on stream, just so in case their contrast is like having a harder time seeing, so you can see everything that's in the background here. There's a lot of things going on in the
Oh my god, I'm
background.
scared. Oh my god, we're gonna.
so
Holy shit.
I think it was an like awesome job making the cosplay look so good. I just think that the background is almost eerie, like it's approaching from behind.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna
Holy
crush,
shit, this is Fanime.
I think if you're gonna do that with the background,
Oh
I think you
wow.
just take it to a singular like flat color or something, because like you're almost there,
I need to confirm.
and God, there's just so much things in the background, like a leg, and like I see like 4 different lights. So
Yes, there's a lot in the background, but she looks so cute and so pretty, and it is a really good photo. It's just that I'm so spooked by the background.
Okay, so this was taken at Fanime because I'm looking at their page, and this is what we called like the photo corner. Like this is like where all the photographers like set up like their lights and shit. So it's like very crowded, very dense with people and like lights everywhere. So I'd say considering what they had to work with, it's a pretty good job. But I also now know that there's like a bunch of wall space that I feel like you could have utilized instead of having to worry about like trying to light her in a way where you have like this creepy leg hanging out.
it feels
but-
especially weird because it feels like you had a flash, you had light, you had like you were taking more than like a quick hallway photo, and like the background feels like it's like a quick hallway photo. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But if I got this back from a con as a haul shot, I'd be so excited.
Yeah, it's good for a whole shot.
As
I
a
feel like.
haul shot, yeah.
As a haul shot,
Context is important.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the weird thing. So I'm looking at like the photographers like other stuff, and they clearly did other private shoots, and those shots look very nice. So I guess it's interesting that they submitted this one. But I guess maybe they would want feedback on something where it was a little more impromptu. I don't know.
So I guess
Are you upset about the hand being cut off? Or no, because of the situation?
honestly,
I'd say no because of the situation, but
Yeah.
I would say yes if I got to that point of caring, if that makes sense. Like I think there's other things that bother me more in the shot that I'm just not paying attention to the hand.
mhm.
Like the fact that it's kind of weird that my eyes go to like the foot in the background before it goes to the missing hand, I think says a lot.
Yeah, like my eyes went to the softbox in the back first.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
just overall, I think the shadows could be taken cooler. Like everything feels pretty warm, and then you kind of got this like the shadows feel like they're this kind of like brown orangey color that I'm not a huge fan of in this shot. I think if you took them cooler, it could really play off of the pinks in the shot.
Yes. Agreed.
I had
This is
something.
a faded look that I'm also not a fan
I think
of.
the fade was taken a bit too far. I think that's.
But I know why they did
Yeah,
it. They
I think
did
it's.
it to like reduce the noise in the background. So
Yeah,
I get it. But
but
again, I think at this point I'm just confused as to why. Did they put any notes in their submission?
let me look. Let me look here. I
I'm just
should
like
check these
confused
before
as
I
to why
ever.
they submitted this photo because their other photography work is like
Okay. They had a comment here, which is this is a convention hallway shot parlor trick inspired by Elf's clamshell portrait lighting. I just like pulling this light trick out because I can do shoots almost anywhere, cut people out of the background. I guess what we'd say there is, yeah, we see it cutting out of the background, but not enough. We just still see a ton of the background. I think, yeah.
But I also feel like using kind of like, oh, it's just a hall shot. It's kind of a cop out. Like,
Yeah.
just because it's a hall shot doesn't mean you need to treat it like that.
But
like, some of my favorite shots are my hall shots, but I still try to treat them as private shoots.
I would argue if you shot a hall shot with one studio strobe in a softbox and a reflector, it's no longer a hall shot. Like if you need a one piece of lighting and then like another like there's too much going on that you have to pay attention to, that there's enough thought into it that it is no longer a hall shot. Like you were taking time to figure things out lighting wise. So if you're taking time to figure out things lighting wise, you should take time to figure out what's in the background and how you can deal with it. Even then, I think in post, like you could totally nuke this background. Like you mentioned it yourself, Ray, that you could that this cuts the person out of the background. Yeah, it does, but it also doesn't help when you can still see the background. Like you could totally just nuke that background and it'd be fine. So yeah. Any other thoughts on this one?
I would take, and I agree. I would take this more pink and purple. I think that would be really cute. The yellows and the browns are not quite working for the magical girl look.
Good.
Yeah. I also think what would help with this shot, if you're gonna set up lights, like I want a rim light in this shot, like otherwise, especially for like magical girl stuff, like otherwise it just kind of feels like this dark background that I'm just not a fan of. I'd like some sort of like edge separation for them. Yeah. A rim light goes a long way. Okay, let's move on to the final shot of the critique. So this one is from Paperfly Visuals. Let me grab the link for all of you. I don't know why for this particular shot, there was a ton of compression on this. So
I was wondering about
I don't
that.
know. It feels like it was actually a lower res shot that was blown up to be 1080p. I don't really know. I would love to know the details because man, like it's got a ton of JPEG compression. It's pretty blurry. It doesn't feel like a 1080p shot even. Like the text is bad. I'll zoom in quick for chat so they can see what I'm talking about. Like even on the text, you see all that JPEG artifacting. It almost feels like it was like a Facebook uploaded photo that was taken down, re-downloaded from Facebook, and then like.
Wait, if I'm looking at the right Instagram page, this is just.
You gonna finish that thought?
Because even on Instagram, it's like really compressed.
Yeah,
The reason I feel like this was compressed much later is because their watermark is so blurry.
It is.
Yeah, no, it was totally like this was done at high res at some point, and then
I want to say that they probably just submitted the Instagram version.
Yeah, something's
like
going on with this shot.
Yeah, because I'm looking at their feed and like it very clearly was shot at a higher res. It's just
Yeah, I mean, yeah, totally. I mean,
their
like
work
it was
is, like, really
the
beautiful.
graphics were done at a higher, like everything was done. I can't even make out the watermark anymore because it's been compressed into oblivion.
Oh my god, I didn't
And
even notice it. I see it
in
now.
the corner here, it's just
Yeah.
like there's so much compression that it just kind of looks like a blob.
Yeah, because I
So
think what they did is that they submitted their Instagram
yeah,
version.
I don't
Because
know.
all their Instagram ones, when you zoom in, are like super compressed.
So Paperfly, if you submit again, please submit like a nicer res so that we don't actually have to spend time talking about compression. Because we don't want to, because the shot's actually real cool. And
I was like, this is a beautiful
the
shot.
last
Like,
thing
love
I
how
want to
near
talk about
it
on
is.
this shot is the crappy compressed version that was submitted that makes it harder to critique the actual photo. Like, yeah.
Well, if
I
you
love
guys
that
go-
this tells. I love that this tells a story. Like, I just need to
Yeah.
say that I love photos that tell us.
I think this is especially interesting because like knowing like how you had to set up the camera to make this shot work, where like
Yeah, agreed.
you the photographer
How
is
awkward.
pretty much probably like hugging someone with the camera to get their arms like perfectly in frame for this. Like I would love to see the behind the scenes of this particular shot because it probably looks hilarious. Like it probably looks so doofy. But I love it because it looks great as an end result.
I love the cosplayer's pose. I feel like it's very like Mordred because she's very like
I don't know anything about
tomboyish and like tough, and I feel like their body language right now is like evoking that perfectly, and like the apprehensiveness that I'm feeling just from like their facial expression and kind of like even their hand gestures, because I don't really know much about Mordred, but like the fact that the text says claim the throne, I'm assuming that they're trying to become king. I don't, or queen, or whatever the fuck fate does. No one knows.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Fate, so
But I think it fits Mordred really well, and I think it's also interesting to see this character in a more moody setting because I'm very accustomed to seeing this character being portrayed as like very hard and tough and like really aggressive, but this is kind of like a softer side to that personality. So I think that's a pretty interesting take.
I dig most of what's going on in this photo. I so I can kind of focus on the nitpicky stuff because the lighting is really cool. I love the kind of slash that goes across the cosplayer's chest. The only thing that I don't like about the lighting is how it lights the face. I wish that on the face we didn't have that huge hot spot. It kind of feels like just a bit distracting. I maybe would have had them turn their head a little bit so that it would have been a bit more of a side light instead of lighting the whole half of the face. Or maybe even turn the cosplayer just ever so slightly so that you had less of it just falling directly on the face there.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, the lighting looks real good in this shot. I especially like the foreground element. It really gives it like the lighting on it really gives it a lot of three-dimensionality, which is really cool. And you manage to like get the right depth of field, so like the foreground object is blurred, so it feels natural, but not blurred enough that we can like it's still very easily readable and recognizable as an object. Like it just makes perfect sense. The color toning's real good. These kind of like muted cyans and the shadows
I
with the
love
orange
it.
reds works real
So
well.
good.
It's really cool. The photo being as symmetrical as it is really awesome.
Like for a narrative shot, it's very striking. Like I
Yeah.
think sometimes people shy away from the narrative shot because they're not as engaging. You have to think about it more. But like this is like if I saw this on my feed, like I would stop.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, the 16:9 crop's awesome.
Yeah.
Some more nitpicky stuff. The upper right corner. I know why you darkened the highlights there, but it feels really weird having like
I didn't notice that actually.
Just like gray block feels real funky. and I don't like it because like it should be blown out. Like the top left is blown out, the top right's gonna be blown out, and you've changed it to this gray, and it feels weird. Yeah, it's funky to me. I just keep it blown out. I think it's fine. I don't know if this is just me, but the smudges on the like door that they're like leaning against, I'm assuming it's a door. I don't really know what it was. But for whatever reason, the stuff on the left side of it, like some of it just seems like it was writing. Like it probably wasn't, but there looks like it's almost like some writing scratched into it that feels a little distracting. I would have maybe just retouched a little bit of that out so it was a little less distracting to me. Once
I don't
again,
really mind it because I think like the
nitpicky.
overall mood of the photo is very tense and grungy.
I
Like,
keep
for a
on seeing like when I'm looking at this photo, I feel like there's a couple letters written in there, and that's why my eye goes to it, because I'm trying to recognize what's written, and I don't think there's anything that's written. But maybe, and this could just totally be me being weird, so like feel free to ignore this.
Being a weirdo.
Okay, well then I'm weird.
Oh,
Sorry.
you know what? I don't know if this setting was symmetrical at all. The walls are identical but flipped.
Yeah, you might be
The
right.
grunge.
The
grunge is the same.
Yeah.
I hate you. No.
It's
Oh
fine.
my
It's
God.
so cool.
Yeah,
it's identically
Oh my
flipped.
God,
but,
I hate
but
it.
it's
No.
interesting because it's literally only that grunge. Because if you compare it,
Yeah.
Yeah, the wood paneling's not.
yeah, wood
the same.
paneling's not, the
No.
ground is not.
Oh my God.
So that window and that wall are pulled from the other side and then flipped. And there is, I don't think that they took down the highlights in just the window. I think there's some kind of like shadowy overlay on this whole area.
Yeah, I think that's
That,
why
like,
that looks
messed up the white in the window.
Yeah.
Oh my God. No, I can't.
No, but
see it.
I freaking love this location. I love the rubble, as if she's been through some sort of battle to claim this sword she's about to acquire. Like, it's just really cool.
Like, you can feel the struggle. Like, it's like you almost know what happens, even though I know nothing about Fate. So
Yeah, okay, I watched the Fate anime that has Mordred in it, and the image does not make sense to me. So I'm confused. I don't know Fate. Like, I watched the anime and I don't know what's going on.
that's okay. I don't think people who play it even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Fine. Stellar shot though. I love it.
Oh, it's so freaking cool.
I'd be so happy if I got this. Like, I'd be freaking
I'd
out.
scream. I'd just straight up scream.
Stunning.
Yeah, that was excellently done with the grunge and the flipping and like getting that fake mirrored like worked out real well.
I normally wouldn't notice it. Let's be real.
Yeah,
We've been staring at it for
and
the past,
you
like,
could.
20 minutes.
I think the biggest thing that you could do to even throw people off the scent more there, and what I personally would do, is one, I'd see if I could find any other shots that I had of like maybe that have more of that grunge wall, and if I didn't, I would actually just sample areas from the wall and like use
or
the healing
patch
brush
tool
tool.
it out so you don't have the same
Healing brush tool, patch tool, just to
bit.
create a wall that has a different texture. Like literally, that's it. Just so that it's not exactly the same. Yeah. Excellent job, though.
So freaking cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Cool. I feel like that is a great photo to end on. So, yeah. Awesome. Thank you, everyone who submitted. We had a huge amount that submitted last time, so this is a big amount of rollover from the last critique, which was awesome. I'm trying not to have it so that we're picking photos. I want to have it so that we have every photo that is ever submitted be shown in the critique. Hopefully we can keep that up. What depends how the popularity of this, I guess, waxes and wanes. if we get any more popular, we might have to start picking at random to which photos get included. I hope we don't have to do that. For right now, if you submitted a photo and it was not in this critique, it means that it got pushed to the next critique. We just had a bunch of photos from the last critique, so that's why this happened. So yeah, if you didn't see them, they'll be in the next critique. We don't have the date for that yet, but it will be probably sometime in the next couple of weeks. Keep an eye out on my Facebook or Instagram for that announcement. When we'll let you know as soon as we get it figured out. Well, Aara, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. It was a blast having you on. You're wonderful.
This is really fun. So much fun.
Good. I'm glad. Oh man. We got another donation to from I'm gonna take a guess who it was from. I'm guessing it was Bobo.
I hate
it. With that $5.39 donation. God damn it, Bobo. I'm guessing it's Bobo because I'm like 95% sure.
Be. Well, now it says boobs, so
yeah. This is why we can't have nice things. But ignoring that, Aara, thank you so much again.
Hey, thank you for joining us.
Aara, tell people where they can keep track of your work and find whatever you have going on.
I am Aara Lee, Aara space Lee on everything. And typing it in the chat. There we go. And on Instagram, there's a dot between Aara and Lee because the name was claimed by a normie. So
goddamn normies.
Oh, normie.
And there's an underscore on Twitter. But I'm sure if you type it in, it'll pop up anyway. That's me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And those are the only platforms that.
Awesome. Do you have any upcoming cons that you will be at?
Yes. I'm going to be at Kineticon, and I think that's in a month. And then I will also be at ColossalCon East. So I know I'm going to see a lot of you guys there. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I decided to go to cons like literally at the day. It's like, okay, here we go. So
yeah, I'm need.
That's what you were going to do for YetiCon, actually.
So YetiCon pissed me off because like I would have been there if flight prices weren't stupid. They were insane. Like they kept on getting more and more expensive. Like from Milwaukee to Toronto, the cheapest they got were like $500, and I was like, screw this. Like I'm not.
That's
next time you go, I can
terrible.
pick you up at the airport. I pass you.
Yeah, it was so expensive. It was ridiculous. I'm just like, why is this happening? This is so stupid. Like at one point they hit like $800 for the cheapest flight.
Oh my God.
And that was like with a like 7-hour layover, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is dumb.
Thanks.
So yeah, that flights were the only reason why I didn't go to YetiCon. However, I hopefully will be doing ColossalCon East. I'm gonna try and spend some time figuring that out, the plans for that this weekend. Yeah. So Sarah, where can people keep up with your work?
Instagram.
And then upcoming cons for you, Sarah?
I have Cosplay America in like a few weeks. But I can't be right. It's in 2 weeks. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yes, I have Cosplay America in a couple weeks, and then after that, I have Otakon the end of the month of July. I'm booking, by the way, rare occurrence. I know. Those are open for another week and a half, and then ColossalCon East.
Awesome. You probably know where to find me already if you're here, but if not, I'm Vontography on Facebook, Vontog on Instagram, and obviously Vontography on Twitch. Also on Vontography on YouTube, where I upload all the past episodes, as well as I think I have a couple tutorials there.
Were you able to claim a YouTube handle yet?
Yeah, I got.
You know how they make you wait?
I don't even know. The hilarious part is whenever you search Vontography on YouTube, it actually wants to correct it to videography, and I'm just like, no, Vontography, damn it.
Videography? Oh my god.
Videography or whatever. Like, I'm just like, no, don't try and autocorrect me, you stupid YouTube. But yeah, upcoming cons. Probably not doing anything till ColossalCon East. I don't know that for sure, but that I'm going to that. But hopefully I will. Trying to make plans for that this weekend. Someone else wants to go to ColossalCon East, apparently. Kitty wants to go to ColossalCon East. And then the exciting news for me is it pretty much looks like MagFest is going to happen this year, which I am so hyped on.
Yay.
Yes! Oh my god.
I've wanted to do MagFest for a long time, and I'm super hyped about being able to, like, this year everything works out. Don't know for sure. We got to play that room lottery game. We'll see how that works out.
Okay, same.
Time to die.
Yeah, so that's really the biggest factor, but I'm sure it'll work out. I'm sure. Knocks on wood. Oh my god. I want to give a
Sorry,
big...
my cat wants us to be done so bad.
No, for sure. You should just have her be on stream. Just be like, put her up to the mic. We should have had Sarah's mom on stream. Come on, this is a disappointment.
Yeah, where's
Yes,
your
my
mom?
mom is here.
Sarah's mom, come on.
She's watching a movie.
Yeah, thank you so much to the audience that's watched with us live, especially those of you who are here critiquing along with us in chat. It's super awesome.
Appreciate it.
Makes this just way more fun to do when you're here critiquing along with us, and we appreciate your opinion a ton. If you enjoyed the critique and have enjoyed this series, your appreciation is greatly appreciation is appreciated is what I was gonna say, but that's stupid.
Well.
What I should say is any of your appreciation is greatly taken, and if you have the means, please consider donating and subscribing. It's not expected by any means, but we do appreciate it, and it helps us keep on going with this endeavor. If you don't actually have the means to sub or donate, which I totally get, and not everyone does, I would just ask that you consider sharing this for like the next couple of times, because that's like super helpful. It's so hard to get social media reach these days. So if you can share, that's awesome. We love that. And hopefully you're enjoying it enough that you'd want to do that. The last thing in terms of that, if you have Amazon Prime, that means you have Twitch Prime, which gives you 1 free sub per month to give to whatever streamer that you want. And if you have that available to you, why not use it here? We would love it if you did. But if you don't use it here, go freaking sub to Games Done Quick in the next week. They will be doing their biannual stream, and all their money that they're gonna get is gonna go to charity, which is way better than giving it to me. So like, just go to sub to Games Done Quick, but like preferably do both. But like, if you're gonna send it somewhere, go sub to Games Done Quick. Yeah, and I think that wraps it up. We don't know when the next critique is. It'll be soon though. We'll let you know as soon as we have things figured out. And yeah, that is it for us. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Aara, for being on. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Sarah, for always doing this with me. And it's time to say good night. Have a good one, everyone. And as always,
good night, everyone.
Think about what you put out in the world. Make it a better place. Bye.
Bye.